Okay, really quickly, a couple things, guys. Take a look at my screen up here really fast. If for some reason you want to submit a file and you do not, and you're not on campus and you can't submit it to the server, this is the service to use. So it's called Smash Transfer. You can do a search for Smash Transfer. The actual website address, and I'll send this out in an email, is from Smash. You can transfer up to 2 gigabytes free on this. So if for some reason, like in our final project, if the work exceeds 2 gigabytes, just split your transfer up, do it in 2 transfers, that kind of stuff. There's no reason to pay for this stuff is what I'm really trying to say. Some of you have used in the past either Dropbox or WeTransfer. Both of those are a nightmare for me to work with. Please do not do those. Do not do Google Drives. It asks for permissions and then it's a back and forth between us. It's just a pain in the ass. This thing is so simple and it is so fast. So just, this is the one to actually use. So anyway, I just thought I would throw that out. If we could get everybody to go look at our server, they changed our server. The server that we are on this semester right now is brand new for this class. It's been around, but it's brand new for this class. So I just wanted to show you guys a couple of things that actually happened in here and the submissions that you did up until now. So I'm trying to avoid any more problems. Dasha, you actually put it in the Engelhard folder. Next time, put it in the Dropbox. But the people who put stuff in the Dropbox, when I went to copy stuff out, if it was in folders, it hates folders. Don't ask me why, but it does. It hates folders. So for the most part, there's really no assignments coming forward that I can think of that have, well, no, that's not true. If we have multiple files, like the assignments that are due next week, the thing that you're going to drop today is just one file. So just name the file with your name underscore 3.1, and you'll be fine. Next week, we'll go through actually how to rename your file so that you can submit multiple files, but not have to use a folder to do it. Again, this whole it's a permissions thing. I cannot. So for instance, if you take a look here. Number one, folders take forever to download. I'm shocked that I actually got the grading done because I was just waiting for this stuff to download. But Will, I couldn't get either you or Dawn's I couldn't do anything with it. I could get the files out, which was fine. So I've just got folders now that sit here and they're just empty. I can't get rid of them. I can't copy them. I can't do anything to them. It's not your fault. I'm just saying, I'm just bringing this up so that everybody, so again, if you're going to submit something today, it would be assignment 3.1 is the one that's actually due today, the Sunny assignment, the masking one. Just do me a favor, drop the file in here, only do not put it in a folder. Are we good on this part? Okay, great, yes. Yes, yeah. So your username and password. So it is your Columbia email and then your normal password. The same thing that you would use to get into the Adobe Suite or your email or any of that stuff. And if it doesn't work, let me know. No, you can't get into. You should not be able to get to week 3 turn in if you try. If you click on the Dropbox, you can't see it. It's locked. The reason I do that is that you could be really angry at Emily and go in there and take her file and throw it away because she just put it in here and I would never know. So anyway, so that's, yeah, you can only drop into there. You can't see it. But usually I'll put this up on the screen at the end of class so that everybody can see what's in it. And you just make sure that your homework got turned in. But guys, I'm really forgiving about this stuff. Not forgiving, that's not fair to say. I'm trusting about this stuff. If you come to me, like Emily, there was a file that I saw in here that had her name on it that was corrupt, and I couldn't copy it. I couldn't do anything with it. So I told her that in the comments on the grading part, and I just said, I know you tried to do this. Just drop it again, and I'll grade it. I'm not, grading for me is not something that's meant to be punitive. It's meant to be an honest assessment of what you're turning in and hopefully encourage you to keep turning stuff in on time and that kind of stuff. That's all this is about. Okay. So I do, on that note, want to take a quick look at a couple of things here really fast. And I'll show you what I'm looking for, how I grade things, how I decide, did I get it right or that. Oh, the other thing about folders and stuff is that some people split their stuff up into assignment 2.1 and 2.2, two separate folders. Some people combined it all into one. And then I couldn't, like I said, then I couldn't actually get some stuff. I had to go in and just copy files down. I ended up having to look through like 5 or 6 places for every single person to see if their shit was in there or not. So anyway, I know. Don't you feel sorry for me? Oh, boo-hoo. Anyway, oh, could you do me a favor and start me a sign in, please? Thanks. Okay. So the first one I want to show you is one from Justin. So this is what I was really looking for. The assignment says turn in all 4 files. You know, the version of the image that has the card in it and the version of the image that didn't. I don't really care about the version that has the card in it. You use that to do your stuff. If you've done everything right, the version that doesn't have the card in it will have the correct profile and the correct white balancing. And so this is how I check it. So I'm going to do both of these at the same time. Oh, I can't do both of these. Yeah, sorry. That was the wrong one. Both of these at the same time. And you'll see these are both D&Gs, which is what I was asking for. And when these open up into Photoshop, if I click on this first one right here, you can see this does have a custom profile. It does have the name 03. This is the one that was made from this file. This file was an 03 file. So I know that that is the correct custom profile. A lot of people use different profiles for some of this stuff. Again, this is why you want to make sure that your naming of these things is consistent, that the name of the profile matches the name of the files that you're working on. Otherwise, you are applying a profile from a completely different lighting scenario, could be a completely different camera, to the image that you're trying to work with. And it just, this extended naming convention, it's the only way that you can guarantee that you're getting the right, correct profile on it. If it's just named after your camera, it's wrong. If it's just, this is the one that, the standard that Adobe has, this is Adobe color. It's a standard one for them. There's also a camera standard one that they do, whatever. Whenever I see that, I know that this is not a custom profile. And then this part down here for the white balancing, if it says as shot, I know that nobody did anything. That means it's just Photoshop is trying to figure out what is the hottest white point in this image, and it's trying to then grayscale or balance that out so that it is a neutral gray. But it's just as shot. Again, that's not. If it's sitting at custom, then I know that somebody actually did that work. If you look at the second profile, so this was shot 03. That was the last part of the naming part. This was the last one was 02. And again, if you click and look on this drop-down menu, it is the 02 profile, so I know it's the correct profile, and then also that it has been custom named. So is this making sense to everybody, what's going on here? We good on this part? Yes? No? Are there questions still about this part? Yes?
So say you don't like your grade for this assignment, can you?
No. No, I don't do, there's no redos, there's no, but I will say this. There's so many assignments in this. If you did poorly on this one, you're not going to, you can ace this class. Yeah, don't let that get to you. If you want to redo something, and if you don't understand something and you want me to look at it or talk or get together and actually do it again, I'm more than happy to do that. As a matter of fact, we may have time. We redid all of this in class last time. I'm happy to do it again today. This is really critical. This is what you should be doing for everything for the whole rest of your life, so it matters, right? So anyway, I'll think about that. But I'm happy to get together with you and talk about anything. Okay. So I'm going to cancel that one out. So now I'm going to show you where you run into a problem. So the instructions in the assignment, I realize that it's a lot of steps, it's a lot of, but it is the only way that you can embed a profile into your a Photoshop file or your TIFF file or whatever it's going to be. I'm going to show you what happens when you only build the profile, and the profile sits in the system. It sits inside your system on your computer, and as long as you're on your computer, you will have no problem. It will find that profile and it will load it. But if you take that image and you give it to someone else, like you guys gave your files to me, I don't have the profiles that you have built in my system, and this is what happens. Oh, and again, I should say this right off the bat. Typically in the grading part, people whose names begin closer to the beginning of the alphabet get picked on a whole lot more than the people at the end, because the minute I find somebody who's done something that's like indicative of what a lot of people are doing, I just show that file. I'm not trying to embarrass anybody here. I'm not trying to call anybody out here. I'm merely trying to say if your last name begins with an A, you're probably going to get shown more than the people whose last name begins with Z. It's just how it goes. It's just, anyway, none of this is meant to be, like I said, punitive or embarrassing. It's a lot of people are doing this. And when a lot of people are doing something, I make a note of it and then I show it in class so that you understand what it is that I'm actually talking about. So again, I'm not calling anybody out. I'm just trying to get this to you guys. So at any rate, hang on one second. So this one is one of Pablo's, and I just want to show you, again, most of this was done correctly except for one thing. So I'm going to do the same thing. And what you'll see here is, in this case, these were not DNG photos. These were they're processed Photoshop files, but that's fine. I can still go in and look at this. So I can double click on the smart object. Remember, the smart object has got all of this embedded in it. And you can see in this first one right here that I clicked on, it does have the profile embedded in it, which meant that he used a DNG. So you create the profile, then you throw away the DNG that you used to create it. You generate a new one that actually has the profile embedded in it, and that's where you start your Photoshop file. That's where you start your image to actually. That's the raw file that you open to begin the game. In this one, it's done correctly, but in this one, it's not. And you see this warning symbol right here. What this is telling you is that the profile is not installed, so the rendering of this file is incorrect. And the reason this happens is that if Pablo were to open this same file on his computer right now, that little triangle would not be there. He would be fine. That wouldn't be an issue. But that's just not the way you want to work, because the truth of the matter is, and this, I'm just telling you, this happens to me, or this is how I've been working my whole life, my whole career, is that you'll do some work this year and you feel like you've got it completely tricked out and you're ready to go and it's beautiful, and then you wait 2 years and it comes time to print out a portfolio, or you want to go back and look at your library of images to send to a specific client, or to get you'll open this shit up and all of a sudden you'll go to yourself, wow, I really need to reprocess that. That was all wrong. What was I thinking? Make sense? So, and at that stage of the game, you may be on a completely different computer, and you may not have any of these profiles. So the idea of doing a workflow where you actually build a brand new DNG to start the process with it embedded with you don't really have to worry about the white balance part of it all, because you can always white balance later. I mean, that's a relatively simple thing to do. But anyway, the DNG profile part, that matters. So and then the last thing is the image that you actually processed out, the girl in the bag, the one that we multi-processed. Like this is a multi-processed one right here. If I double click on this again and click on this drop-down menu, you can see that this is, the Pablo did use the correct profile. It's this 03 profile. But I have to say, for the rest of the class, more than half of you guys ended up using the wrong profile. Again, a lot of the names are the same, right? It's just that extension at the end. It's the 03, 04, 02, 01, that kind of stuff, whatever. That's the easiest way for me to look and see if it's the right one or the wrong one. So again, and if you're using the wrong profile, it's pointless. So hands up. Should we go over this whole process again really quickly? Yes or no? You guys feeling good about it? Yeah, we can do it for anyone. It'll be the whole same process. Should we go over this really quickly? All right, let's just do it. All right. So to start this out, and again, I encourage everyone to do this, even though this is not something you're going to turn in. This is not part of the assignment. I encourage you to do this because, this is muscle memory, for lack of a better way of putting it. It's just doing this stuff over and over and over and over. It becomes second nature, and you'll see how fast it can go. So, I am recording this. I'm going to blow through this pretty quick. We've done this now 2 times in class. This will be the 3rd time. I want you to do this with me. But I also want you to understand that this isn't something that's going to take you an hour to do every single time you want to actually process your files, that this goes really fast, all right? Okay, so it's going to be in our class folder for session 2. Oops. In the assignment folder. And again, it's going to be the one that's labeled this fashion 02 part right here. If you click that open, you'll see in this case I've got 2 CR2 files and a DNG. This DNG, I have no idea what it is, so just throw it away. Let's start from scratch. So I am going to start with just the regular CR2 file, the frame number 1, the one that actually has the color card in it. I don't need to open the other one yet. So I'm going to drag that on top of Photoshop. I don't just double click mine to open because I've also got a version of the Photoshop beta on mine and it inevitably opens into the Photoshop beta. Okay, so all I need to do is make a DNG of this. I don't need to do anything else. I don't have a custom profile, but this is the reason that we run into a problem with this initial DNG. When we make it, whatever profile you have here is going to be embedded in it, and you can't change that. You can open this file up and change it then and go ahead and make a Photoshop file and do that kind of stuff, whatever. But the original DNG, it's a raw file. It is written. You cannot change that once it's made. So in our case, we're just using this to actually make a custom profile. Then we're going to build a brand new DNG that's got this in it, and we'll be good to go. So all I'm going to do is make a DNG of this. To do that, it's the little square on the upper right-hand part of your screen that's got the little arrow pointing down at it. Just simply click on that. Unless you've screwed around in here, the only things you care about are at the very top destination. You want this to be save in same location so that it gets put right next to that CR2 file that made it, those 2 raw files. And then the file extension DNG, this is where you pick what this dialog box actually generates for you. So if you click on that drop down, you can see if you come down to like PNG, this thing will then make a PNG for you. That's all this is. So leave it at DNG, hit save. There, you should see a little screen along the bottom. It indicates, because you can do hundreds of thousands of these all in one shot. You just open them all up in here, you do a select all, and then you do that little arrow pointing down. You'll see a little progress bar that goes along the bottom here that showing you that you've actually done that. You can hit cancel now. It's done its work. If we go in and now look at this, this is the DNG we just built that has got that camera thing embedded inside of it. We now need to go to our application folder, and in application folder, again, you're going to open the color checker calibration. I think it's now named the same for both Windows and Mac. Double click on that to open it. And then either drag and drop the file that we just made onto this thing that is opened up, or if you can't find that, go up to the file menu and come down and do add image. In my case, I can find it, so that's where I'm heading. He said. So grab the DNG, drop it onto that window. It'll tell you that it's loading. While I'm at this, I'm going to go back to this DNG right now. And again, I copy my my file names. So if you've got the file selected, if you hit the return key, it will then select just the file naming. But remember, this has got a frame number in it as well. That 001 is a frame number. I don't need that part of it, but nonetheless, I'm going to copy this. The shortcut for that is Command C. If you can't remember that, go up to the edit menu and come down to Command, just copy. But on this one, I'm going to just copy that. And then I'm going to go ahead, and you'll see in this case right now, it did not pick up the card as well as it should. So you can see that those little squares are not evenly over this card. So to get them over the card, by default, you will have the very first little icon on the top right-hand side will actually be selected. You can actually move the corner point. So I'm going to drag this little corner point over, and I'm going to drag this little corner point over, and then check everybody else to make sure that all of these targets are centered, and they all are. Do not let this target hit either the shadow of her fingers or her fingers there. That would be a mistake. And then I'm going to hit Create Profile. And it's going to say, okay, what do you want to name this thing? So in older versions of Macintosh, anyway, I don't think this has ever been a problem with Windows. It might have been. In the older versions of this, you could not do a paste here. So instead, you couldn't do anything here. You couldn't. So I'm just going to hit the delete key to get rid of that name. You want to keep the .dcp. That's the extension for a digital color profile. It's actually a D&G digital. Anyway, it's a D&G profile. And then you can right click. So in a Macintosh, to right click, you hold down the Control key and then click. You'll get a drop down menu and you'll have paste here. Windows people, you've always had this. In some cases, you should be able to hit Command V, which will paste this in. You'll notice that there is no edit menu up here that allows you to pick paste. So anyway, somehow I'm going to try Command V to just see. In that case, it did. I'm going to get rid of the file number, the 3-digit extension on the end, or the 3-digit numbering. It's a frame number. I'm going to get rid of that so that this is now for all the images that I shot that are named have this name and we're on O2. It does go into my camera profile folder, so this part I know is correct. So I'm going to go ahead and hit save. And it'll say it's been successfully saved. I'm going to go great, and then I'm going to quit this program. I'm going to go back now, and here's the trick. Throw this D&G away. It does not have and never will have the correct custom profile embedded in it. It's always going to remember that camera standard or that Adobe color. It's always going to remember that. So we're going to get rid of this. I'm now going to open both of my files because I want to do this work on, I'm not going to do both my files. I'm going to open up just the regular one again. Take that back. I am going to do both of these. So select both your CR2s, drag them on top of Photoshop. And now with the card selected, the thumbnail of the card selected, you want to actually find that custom profile you just built. So if you come over to, you can click on this drop-down menu and come down and hit Browse. I actually like to use the little icon that's to the right of that for the name, for the profile. We're going to go find that custom profile because it gives me a bigger browser. And so when I do that, it actually opens up and there's a bunch of thumbnails. And you'll notice if you move over, don't pick any of the thumbnails, just hover over them. You can see all the changes that are happening, especially look at the girl's skin and look at the girl's, the other girl's white shirt. You can see a lot going on here. But there is a profile sort of towards the middle, just says profiles. If you click that open, this is where your custom profiles are. And so in my case right now, I know I got rid of, I've got 3 of these. Anyway, it's this one right here. I know it's the latest one in here. So I'm going to click on that to select it. And then up right underneath your histogram, there's a back arrow. If you click on that, it'll take you back. And now if you click on your drop-down menu, you can see it's the same file name as the file. And it is all the way up to that O2. So it is the correct profile for this. I'm also going to go ahead and white balance this. So if you come down to your color palette and open that up and grab the little eyedropper tool and click on that, you can come over and you want to select a neutral patch on your color target. So the ones that run along the very bottom are all neutral patches, but you want to stay away from the lightest ones and the darkest ones. You want to grab something in the middle. I typically do the one that's right next to the red patch. Simply click on that, and if you look up at your histogram, it's giving me a readout right now what those numbers are, and it says 215 red, 215 green, and 215 blue. I know that this thing now has been white balanced. It is because, again, the definition of white balance is that neutral grays in your image have equal amounts of RGB. That is the definition of a neutral gray. So this part's all ready to go. But at this stage of the game, I want to apply all of this that I have done to the image that does not have the card in it. To do that, you're still staying on the one that's got I'm not changing that. I'm going to come up and hover over the thumbnail, and at the very top right-hand corner, you'll see 3 little dots. If you click on those 3 little dots, you'll have an option to do a select all. If you click on that, you'll see that it adds a light gray border around the image that has not been selected. Then we need to apply our settings that we have made in this one that has the color card in it to the one that doesn't. So go back to the exact same 3 dots on the thumbnail, click on that, and come down and do sync settings. And once you do that, if you just leave this at its defaults, the only thing that we have done on this image is actually the color correction and the custom profile. You can see the custom profile is sitting right in here, and if you open up the color part right here, you'll see that it's also it's going to do the white balance part, which is the only thing we care about. Those are the only changes that we've made. So I'm going to simply say OK to that. So now both of these have a custom profile. Both of them have been white balanced. I'm going to click on the image that is just the person without the card, and I'm going to make a DNG of that. So I'm going to click on again, go back up to the square with the little arrow pointing down in it, click on that, and just hit save. And then we can get out of here. I'm just going to hit cancel to get out of here. I'm going to discard all of my changes. I'm going to go back to the image, and the image now down in the group of images. This DNG has now been color balanced, and it's also been the custom profile that we built is embedded in it. So if you double click on it, you will actually see, lo and behold, there's the custom profile right here, and I can see I've got a custom white balance. And this is how I start my image. So at this stage of the game, I would hit open object, and then I would save this file as a Photoshop file. So I'm going to go save as. I'm just going to leave the same name. The PSD tells me it's a different file than my CR2s and all that. I'm going to just throw this in my TOS folder. You guys don't need to save this. And then I'm going to do the same trick as before. I'm going to come up to my layer menu, and come down to Smart Objects, and I'm going to do a new Smart Object via copy. I'm going to then double click this. This is now a whole new set of raw data. It's still got the same profile. It's still got the same custom color. I'm just going to drop this way down. So I'm going to underexpose this file by 2 stops. And I'm going to say, OK, not the file, just this layer. And then I'm going to turn that off. I'm going to come back down to my figure. I'm going to do select subject. I'm going to click on my drop down menu and make sure it is doing the cloud. I'm going to click select subject. Looks like a pretty good selection to me. I'm going to come back to the image, the second layer that's the darker version. I'm going to add, I've got marching ants, I've got a selection going. If you simply click on add layer mask, it will actually mask it for you. And you can see in this case, it is exactly the opposite. This is what I always do, but that doesn't matter. You either click on the invert button right here in properties, or just hit Command I, and it will invert it. And now I've got a figure that's really popping. If you then say to yourself, well, Versa, that's too extreme. This is way too dark. It's way too dark. It gets really difficult if you double click on this to just keep going back into here and say, okay, well, I'm going to bump it up to here. I'm going to make it a little bit lighter here, that kind of stuff. Don't do that. Instead, just use your opacity slider to pull it back. If you come all the way back to 0, in effect turns the layer off. But this allows you to dodge it down. I wanted to get some more separation in my background, and there you go. I'm going to close up this file. I'm going to save it. And then I'm going to open it again. Open recent. Go to this guy. Double click on this. You can see my custom profile's in there, the whole 9 yards. Are we good on this? It's that simple. This is not a heavy lift. Change everything for you. We good? All right. You can get rid of that. Okay. Smart objects. Questions about them. How are you guys feeling about them? Are we good? Do we understand them? Should we talk about them a little bit more? Should we look at, we're going to be working with smart objects the whole rest of the semester, but I just want to know if everybody in here is at least somewhat comfortable with smart objects and how they work and how they protect things and how they can hold things and all of that kind of stuff. Are we good on all of this? No? Okay, so what's not good? Okay, I'm sorry, I can't hear a word you're saying.
I missed the last class because
Okay, so if you're missing classes, watch the videos, and if you have questions, then come, or you need to just make an appointment and just say, Versa, look, can we get together really quickly? I can bank through this stuff pretty quick. So do me a favor, watch that, and any questions you have, then let's get together and make sure that you're up to speed, okay? Okay. Anyone else? Questions about anything we've gone through so far? Why do I talk so fast, and why do I keep these lectures on so long, and why the hell did you sign up for this class? And I really didn't plan on doing this. I just want to know how to use the clone stamp tool, all right? Don't worry. Okie dokie. We've gone through all of that. So we are going to actually go back. Does everybody still have the copy of the castle that you turned in? You didn't turn it in, but we worked on it. But that's the file that I actually want to get to. If you don't have a copy of it, I'm pretty sure I do. I'm going to throw it up onto the server really quickly. You can copy it down. We just want to work on it. It's not going to be for assignment stuff, whatever. But if you have your own copy of it, go ahead and find it. If not, I am going to try to find mine. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to throw it up on the server really quickly. Let me change the permissions of this first. So if you need a copy of this, I just stuck it up on our server. It's called castle.psd. So does everybody have a copy of this that they can load? I can also throw this on a thumb drive and pass it around, but you need to have a version of this opened up into Photoshop.
which week?
So we worked on it in week number 2. And that's when it would have been saved at that point. But I don't want you to have the original version. I need the one that's actually been reprocessed like this. So has everybody got a version of this? Anybody not? Okay. So if we take a look at this, I want to come in really closely. Did we go over this about Refine Edge? Have we talked about? I know we haven't done it in this class, so I don't know why I'm asking. I'm going to come in and see where I'm going to call it the heather, just because I think this should be Scotland or something, and I don't want to just call it grass. So, but anyway, that area. So where the horizon meets the ground on the top, on the far left-hand side. I'm going to zoom into this guy pretty close. And you can see we have a problem. This is, the edge on this is wrong. So all the processing part that we did on this is actually impacting it's in the sky layer. That's where the dark part's actually coming from. And the problem with it is this mask right here. The mask that's actually controlling this. And to see what I'm talking about, if you hold on your Option key and click on the mask, you can see it's this edge right along here in the mask. It's not that great. So we can improve this. However, the thing that I use to improve this is something that it's been around. So we've all worked in the Select and Mask workspace. You should have probably visited that in the Sunny assignment. There was stuff in there that probably that would be the best method to do. But what we will do, just so that you know, is you're going to turn Sunny in today. That's assignment 3.1. I will grade that, and then we will redo Sunny in class next week. So again, this is that whole process of doing shit twice and just, but I want you to tackle the challenges that you've got in front of you right now, because it's important that I don't just say to you, oh, you need to use this tool here for this and that tool there for that and this tool for. It's important for you to discover what these things do and don't do, and then we can have a conversation about what I think is the sort of the best way to attack it and not. So at any rate, this one's a problem right here. The Select and Mask workspace, we could do some work on this. We could try to fix that. but I actually think there's a better tool for doing this. The Select and Mask Workspace was based on a technology that a bunch of high schoolers developed, and Adobe saw it. This happened years ago, and Adobe bought it from the group of high schoolers. They made a fortune doing it, and they rolled it into Photoshop. It's still in Photoshop, but it's hidden. You can't, unless you know the trick to get to it. So I need everybody to whip out your little piece of paper right now and write this down, because otherwise you're not going to remember how to get to this thing. It is, so even though the Select and Mask technology was built on the tool I'm going to show you, the tool that I'm going to show you I still think does a much better job of what we're going to try to do here than the Select and Mask Workspace. Although I haven't compared them in ages, and the Select and Mask Workspace actually gets a lot of attention. The tool that I'm going to show you probably doesn't, but at any rate. So to do this, you want to make sure that you're on this top layer. So it's the very top layer that is, it's the dark part of the sky. This is the mask that we actually need to fix. So I'm going to go ahead and select the mask. And then to get to this tool, you hold down the, I'm going to swear I'm not going to remember this myself now. I'm pretty sure. Let's try. You're going to hold down your Shift key and come up to the Select menu and come down to Select and Mask. And what you'll see happens is that typically doing that, if we didn't hold down the Shift key, we would go into the Select and Mask Workspace. We did not do that. We actually just had this window pop open, this control panel open up, palette open up, that is just called Refine Mask. So this, to me, is the superior tool on this. And I just want to show everybody here how this works, because this will take refining your mask to a whole new level. So again, I think there's more control in this than there is actually in the Select and Mask Workspace. Not that Select and Mask Workspace is not good. It's great, actually, but we're gonna work here instead. So, yep. So again, hold down your Shift key. If you just go up to your Select menu and come down to Select and Mask, you're going to go right into the Select and Mask Workspace. That is not what we want to do. So I'm going to hit Cancel. Instead, hold down your Shift key and click on Select and Mask, and you will get the Refine Mask tool comes open to you. Did that work? All right. So, like Select and Mask, there are views. If you click on this drop down, you will see there is no onion skin. That was an invention that was actually added when they did the Select and Mask Workspace. It was actually one of the reasons they probably did this. I want you to pick on layers. The reason you want to pick on layers is that this is the view that you want to have so that it reflects any changes that we make. So when we do work on this image, you're actually going to see the results of that work on this image. If you have other things selected, you will only see the mask itself being changed. You don't see you won't see the combination, the result of it all. So you want to do on layers, and then right next to this you have got a show radius and a show original. We'll look at what those are in just a second. There is a magnifying glass and a hand. These are just the same as they are in Photoshop. I typically use keyboard shortcuts for this instead. If you just hold down your space bar and you hover over this image, you will get the hand. If you hold down the space bar and the command key or control key if you're on Windows, you will get the magnifying glass. If you add the option key to that, you get the negative magnifying glass and a real annoying noise. At any rate, that's what those things are. We're going to look at this, what this brush is, in just a second. So the first thing I'm going to do is this. I'm going to ignore Smart Radius. Smart Radius is for stupid people. Don't use it. We're going to do what Smart Radius always promised to do, but it doesn't really do. Instead, I want you to just grab the radius slider that's down at the bottom, and I want you to click on it and drag it pretty far over. I'm going to come over to like a 10 or a 12. And you'll see that my selection gets a little bit better on the background. It's not quite as dark on there. It's not great, but it's not quite as dark. But I want to show you what's happening. If you click on the show radius thing right now, what you'll see is it knows in your image where the mask is. It understands the difference between the black and white part of your mask, and it actually selects that line for you. If you grab your radius slider and you drag it up even more, so I'm going to go up in like the 40s, you'll see what it's just doing is it's just going further and further up. It's going into the mask on both sides of it. So the area I'm trying to work with, it's got, right now I've got a whole lot of grass in it, I've got a whole lot of sky. So I've gone way too far for this. So this is how the tool works, and this is the thing to remember. This tool also exists in different form a little bit in Select and Mask. You have a Refine Edge tool, which is what this one is. So at any rate, and it works the same way. The thing to remember is this. The thing that these kids invented was it's an algorithm. It was a piece of software that looks at this edge and it runs this algorithm on that edge, and that's all it does. It cannot do it repeatedly. It does this thing once and that is it. There's no point in doing this twice. It won't change. It does it once and that's it. There is no opacity for this. There's no strength slider for this. It's either all in or all out. That's it. So you can only run it once. Well, you can run it as many times as you want, but it will only do anything once, and there's no strength slider to it. You're either in or you're out. So wherever this radius is, this algorithm is going to be run on this. The problem that we've got right now is, so I'm running it on sky, I'm running it on grass that doesn't need this thing run on, and so it will fuck up stuff that is not fucked up. So you need to be really judicious about where you use this thing. Does that make sense, everyone? Are we good on this part? Okay. But first, I am going to then crank this thing all the way down. And you will see that in this case now, with a radius of 0, there's nothing selected. This image, this algorithm is not going to be run on this thing anywhere on it at all. Are we good on this part? Okay, so I am going to uncheck show radius, and I am going to start to bump this guy up a little bit. And I'm really looking for it I'm slowly dragging it open, and I'm looking again for the results that I'm getting here. And I'm going to keep hitting this up until I can actually feel like that's gone away. And so in my case, when I'm up around an 8.8, 9, something like that, I feel like I've cleaned this part out. But before you say okay to this, you can actually use, there is no preview check box in this thing. This is what Show Original will do. If you click on Show Original, it shows you what it looked like before you started doing this. So it is kind of your preview button. If you uncheck that Show Original, then you can sort of see the impact of what you're actually doing. If you hold down your space bar, you'll get the hand, and you can click and come over and you can take a look at the castle. And I want you to look at the very top of the castle right now. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to do the Show Original and then not. And when you turn on Show Original, you can see that using this radius slider tool has gotten too aggressive on the top of this castle. If you turn on the show radius, you'll actually see it's eating into too much of the castle part, the bricks part that's below this. So this is too aggressive for the castle. So I have got to back this thing off. It's too aggressive. It's chewing up the whole quality of the edge that I've got on the top. So again, uncheck show radius, use your show original on and off, and you can see there's a whole thing that's just being lopped off the top here. I don't want that to happen. So now I'm going to actually drag my radius slider back down to, I'm going to start all the way down at the very beginning. You can see that there is a little bit of a halo around this, but also if you zoom in on this castle, let me take a look down here. This looks to me like I have actually got chromatic aberration in here, and we're going to find out right now. So do you guys, if you take a look at the edge of this castle, do you see like a magenta line on that? I don't see a green one on mine, but I see a magenta one on here. Do this. We're going to cancel out of here really quick. I'm going to turn off the top two layers. I'm going to go back to my original one and look here. And no, that's actually been taken out. If I were worried about the chromatic aberration, if I was worried, is it on or not, when I brought this in, double click on your smart object. This will bring you into Camera Raw. And then you're going to scroll down to the very bottom of your palettes to find optics. And you need to make sure that remove chromatic aberration is turned on. If it is, you're in good shape. And you can hit cancel out of here. And we're pretty good to go. If you're not, you need to actually click on that. Okay, I'm going to turn everybody back on. I'm going to click on the mask on my very top layer. I'm going to zoom out just a little bit. I'm going to keep looking at this. You can see there's a halo on this edge right here. I got to get rid of that. So hold down your shift key again. Click on select. Come down to select and mask. it'll open it up. I'm going to grab the slider and I'm going to start to push it over until I get rid of this line right here. Again, I'm like at a 2 right now. I'm going to see what my radius looks like. It's pretty narrow on there. I'm going to do my show original on and off. You don't want this thing any more aggressive than that. As a matter of fact, it's a little too aggressive on the very top of the castle right here. So I'm going to back that off a little bit more, come down to like a 1.5, do my show original again. So that's getting rid of the halo, but it's leaving the top part of the castle on there. So this part works well for me around the castle. But now if I go back and I take a look at the heather or the, this line right here, it's not enough on this. So this is where the brush comes in. I'm going to zip back out just a little bit, again holding down spacebar, command or control if you're on Windows, and the option key to kick back out a little bit. I'm going to turn on the show radius and you'll see what the problem is. The radius that's along the heather is the same as the castle, but it's too small for the heather. So what you can do is you can use these brushes. So again, if you look on the Refine Mask palette, underneath the hand, there's a brush icon, a tool icon. There's 2 brushes in here. So click on the lower right-hand corner, you'll get a flyout menu. You want to pick the Refine Radius tool. The Erase Refinements tool we'll look at in just a second, but you want to pick the top one, the Refine Radius tool. This is a regular brush, just like any other brush. So to control its size, you use the bracket keys that are just to the right of the P key. So I'm going to make mine a little bit smaller. Again, what we're doing when we do a radius is we're saying this is where to run that software. And in our case, we want to just cover the area that needs to be it. You don't want to cover anything that doesn't need it. So I'm going to turn off my show radius. I'm going to look at the size of my brush. My brush is still a little bit too big, so I'm going to make it smaller still. And then what I want to do, I'm going to come all the way over to the left edge of my image. You want to simply paint this. It's got to be a little bit bigger. You paint this along the edge or along the area that needs to be fixed. So the area here that's still dark, just start to paint it along this area. You'll see that it makes things looking a little bit worse, but that's okay because as soon as you let go, you'll actually see that it's extended this. If you turn on your show radius now, you'll see what we just did. You are painting a bigger area. You're saying the area that I want here has got to be bigger to refine. I want you to be able to refine all of the tops of the grass as well as where it actually meets. So we're making this part bigger. So I'm turning my show radius back off again, and I'm just going to finish this all the way down. And you should do the same thing. When I get this far down, hold down the space bar, you get the hand and you can kick it over and just continue to work your way down. Now, once we get to the castle, you want to stop because the radius slider that we used was perfect for what it did for the castle. So I just need to cozy up to that and I'm done. So then we need to look on the other side to sort of see what's happening. So again, I'm just holding down the space bar, pushing it over. But look at the trees now on the other side, the tops of these trees. Again, if you turn on your show radius, you'll see it's still just that little bitty line that we used with we need to extend that as well, just like we did for the grass. So I'm going to turn off the show radius. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to start painting just the treetops. But if you've got little areas in here that don't need to be fixed, do not hit them, do not fix them. Like this little trough part in here doesn't need it. So I'm just going across these tops to get rid of this part. I don't need it on this. I can hit this. I can hit this. And now if we take a look at our show radius, you can see I've got areas that are bigger, areas that are smaller, all of that kind of stuff. But again, I don't want to run this thing on anything that doesn't need it. So, because it will destroy your image. I'm going to zip back out again a little bit more. We're almost done. I'm going to turn off my show radius. But now I'm going to look at this line. Look at the halo line that's sitting on the very top of the sand dunes that are in the back. If you turn on your show original again, you can see it's actually eating in. It did just like what was happening to the castle. That's eating into detail. Those are shadows on the very top of this sand dune or whatever the hell this thing is that actually should be there. They should not have been removed. So in this case, again, if I undo my show original, you can see I need to bring these things back. If you click on your show radius, you can see the thing that's causing that is this little bitty, the small little bit of radius that the radius slider actually put on there. I'm going to zip back out so I can get a little bit smaller in here. I'm going to get my handle all the way to the side. I'm going to turn my show radius off. And I know that I need to remove that along the entire top edge of this sand dune thing. That's the next tool down. So if you click on the little brush thing and you come to erase refinements, I make my erase refinements really big because you're just trying to kill that line. I'm going to start right here on this very edge. So I'm going to click and I'm going to drag across, and you'll see it shows you where you're hitting this, but that's not the result. That's just showing you what you're painting. When you let go, it'll actually get rid of that. If you turn on your show radius now, you'll see it has removed that whole line. And I don't even need to look anymore. I know exactly the line that I need to finish getting rid of. It's this whole thing right here. And I just whack that off. Turn off show radius, turn back, here, I'm gonna zip all the way back out so you can see what my radius actually is looking like. So you can see there's a small little line of it along the castle. There's a heavier line along the heather on the left-hand side. There's also a heavier line on the treetops that are on the right-hand side. And then the entire thing on top of the dunes is gone. This is how you use this tool. Now I'm saying to Photoshop, this is where I want you to run that algorithm. Where there is no line, where there is no radius, nothing is going to change in this image. Is this making sense to everyone? Are we good? Then finally, if you look down at the very bottom, all of these adjust edge tools, we do these manually later on in life. You don't need to, later on, we're gonna learn a much better way to do this. You don't use any of these. We don't need to worry about decontaminating colors right now, but your output to here in this drop-down menu, you can do a number of things. There's no real reason to do this as a selection, even though you could, because it just means you got to fill it once you get in there. Layer mask is what we would want here, because it's just going to impact the layer mask that I've got on here. This new layer, you do not want to use that. This is something we looked at. These are the exact same ones that you have in the Select and Mask workspace. New layer will actually create a new layer, but it will apply the layer mask, which is destructive because it will remove pixels. You don't want to do that. New layer with layer mask, you could do that. New document, again, you don't want to do that because what it does is it creates a new document. It actually changes this mask, or it refines this mask, and then it removes the mask, it applies it. It's a destructive move. You end up with a new document, but it's got a destroyed layer in it. And then finally a new document with layer mask. You could also, that would be an option you can use. In our case, I'm just going to do layer mask and say okay to this. And there you go. We've actually refined this edge, and it's beautiful. However, I've got one problem, and the problem that I've got is this sky mask that we created right here has not been refined. This is the original, this is what we just refined. But now that I've refined it, this thing has changed. So you need to save that change. You need to save the difference in the two. To do that, you hover over the mask, so put your cursor over the mask, hold down the Command key or the Control key if you're on Windows. Your little hand will turn into, or your cursor will turn into a hand with little marching ants. Click on it. It loads that as a selection. You can see the little marching ants. You are now going to save this selection, and I'm going to come up to the Select menu, and I'm going to come down to Save Selection, and I'm going to call it Sky V2. Or Sky Refined, even better. And say OK. And now you will actually have a Sky Refined, and at this stage of the game, I would take the original Sky and I would throw it away, drag it and put it down into the trash. You don't care about a bad mask. You don't want to save this shit. Command D to deselect, and then you save your work. Questions? Are we good on this? Okay, guys, it's exactly 2 o'clock. Let's take a quick 10-minute break. Hard 10. Be back at 2:10, please. If we take a look at the image that we've got going on here, I just want to go over this one more time really quickly with everyone. So over here in the channels palette, This is why we actually lay this arrangement out. You guys are beginning to at least feel and understand right now. You see where the info palette plays into this game. It's, again, it lets you do really precise controls. History is always critical to us. Actions we're going to look at later. But the channels palette, this thing has actually got really important information. This is where all of your selections are stored and kept. So, and again, you make any selection at all and save it, it doesn't matter. So if you grab the lasso tool really quickly, so just hit the L key and just draw out a big old circle like this and come up to the select menu and do a save selection and call it lasso circle or whatever you call it. And say okay to that, and then look over into your channels palette at the very bottom. There's this mask that is the circle. If you actually want to see this thing, you want to click on the icon. It will actually show you this guy. And I've still got marching ants going, Command D to deselect. It helps to always do that Command D to deselect, because what will end up happening is that you will load, sometimes you can load selections, and the marching ants, if your selection is under 50%, so you'll see a warning. It'll come up and it'll say, well, your selection is under 50%. You're not going to be able to see it. The marching ants don't show, but you'll still have a selection going. But at any rate, the selections actually control where you can do things. So if you have a selection going and you cannot see it, and you go to like paint something, and you'll see that the only place that you can paint it is inside the selection. You can't paint outside of it. That's the purpose of a selection. So just getting into that habit, whenever you get the marching ants going and you save something or you do that, whatever, make sure you get into the habit of hitting that Command D to deselect. It'll just, it'll make your life a whole lot easier. What else was I gonna say about this? Oh, you can name these things, rename them. You can click on this and rename it. You can do all of that. You can throw these away, so you can grab this channel and you can throw it away. You can do all of those things, still exist in here. Obviously, you can run levels on this. You can do curves on this. You can blur things. So if we go back, I'm going to hit Command Z to undo that and come back to my weird circle selection right here. You can come up to this filter and come down and blur this thing and say, I want to really soften up this edge. So I'm going to smack the shit out of this. I'm going to really hit it hard. I'm going to go up to like a 30 and say, okay, you can do all of these things, and this then becomes your selection. This is what your selection will look like. So to see what that looks like, I'm going to load this. So to, again, load any selection, hover over the icon, hold down your Command key or your Control key, click on this, it loads it as a selection. I'm going to come over to my image now, and I'm going to put a brand new empty layer on top of all of this just to show you what selections do. I'm going to click on the little square that's got the plus in the middle. It'll put on a blank layer, and then I'm going to grab a brush, the B key. Whenever you do that, you will see in this class, we use a whole variety of brushes. You really need to come over to your tool palette and click on it and make sure that you've got the brush tool and not the mixer brush tool or the pencil tool. Make sure that you've got the brush tool. Your eyes immediately should shoot up to the options bar at the very top. Click on this drop-down menu to see what your hardness is or your softness. I'm going to go ahead and leave mine as a hard brush. Normal blending mode, 100% opacity, 100% flow. We will talk again about what these are later on. And then also this little airbrush tool. And then I'm going to hit the, I've got a red color is my foreground color. If you want the same color that I've got, click on that little patch. It'll open up your color picker and type in, well, you could type in any of these three sets of coordinates. You could do a hue of 349 degrees, a saturation of 63%, and a brightness of 33. Or you could do red of 85, a green of 32, and a blue of 41. Or you can do an L of 22, A of 33, and a B of 12. You can also try to put in, actually this is interesting, it used to be that you couldn't put in values in the CMYK, or at least that's the way I remember it. But at any rate, nonetheless, that's the same color I got. And then I'm going to make my brush larger, and I'm just going to start to paint. And you can see that where you paint is controlled by the selection. And even though I've got a completely hard brush, I've got a completely soft layer here because my selection was soft. this matters to us. We're going to actually use this in just a minute here to manipulate this part. But does this make sense what's going on to everybody here? Selections control where you can actually do things. Now, in this case, it's protected. So you'll see that I'm going to hit Command Z to undo that, to get rid of all of that. So this is saying, okay, the selection is sitting here in the center and I can paint inside it, but I can't paint outside the selection. But let's say I really want the inside, I want this selected area to be protected. I want to avoid painting in there. I want to be able to paint outside of that. To do that, you come up to the select menu and you come down to inverse. Now this is different than inverting your image. When we invert a layer mask, everything that's white goes black and everything that's black goes white. We're not doing that now. What we are doing is we are inverting the selection. So before you do that, you'll notice that I've only got marching ants in the middle. But when I invert this thing, the shape in the middle is not going to change, but you'll see I get marching ants that will go all the way around the edge of my picture. So up to the select menu, down to inverse. Again, you are inversing the selection. This is not image adjustment invert. This is not that. This is inverting the selection. So up to the select menu, down to inverse. And you'll see I've got marching ants going across the outside now. And now when I paint, the inside stays protected and the outside is where I can paint. So the selections are always telling you where you can and you cannot paint, and also what the quality of that edge is going to be like, where the area that's protected and the area that's not intersect. Are we good on this part? Okay, you can close this whole thing up. You don't need to save it. Okay, what is the single best selection tool in all of Photoshop? It's kind of a trick question. Say what? There's not. That's good. So I'm going to just tell you, the best selection tool, and everybody, any serious Photoshop person will tell you this, is the pen tool. How many people in here have ever tried to use the pen tool? Right? Keep your hands up, because I'm going to ask the next question. How many people in here hated the pen tool so much they just gave up on it and never bothered to ever use it again? Right? Everyone feels that way, right? So I'm going to show you how to really use the pen tool, and we're going to avoid all of the pain, right? So I learned this years ago from this weird book called it was like the Photoshop cookbook or the Photoshop, I forget what it was called, but it's been out of print forever. People search for it because the people who wrote it understood Photoshop before. I think the people at Adobe understood Photoshop, but nonetheless. So I'm going to show you, this is the way they do this. It's their tricks. So I'm going to tell you two pieces of advice right off the bat. Everybody did get on the sign-in sheet, right? Okay. Do not use your tablet to do this. You will hate your life. And this is why. When you actually use a tablet, when you're doing pen tool work, you need to be really precise about where you put points down. And what happens with a tablet is that if you're hovering over your tablet and you get your pen point exactly where you want it, but then you actually have to travel down to actually hit the tablet, it will move. And you'll just get frustrated. So do not ever use this. You can use a trackpad. It's better, but the best tool in the world to use for it is a mouse. You can get exactly where you want to be over it, and then you just click your mouse. You're not moving anything up and down. You're not doing any of that kind of stuff. So if you have a mouse, now would be a good time to whip it out. If you don't have a mouse, again, trackpad works pretty good. But anyway, so for what that's worth, when I'm doing serious long pen work, whatever, I always pull out a mouse. And if you don't have one, you can buy a mouse like probably at Staples for $1. Anyway, so okay, so if you go to our session 4, inside session 4, there is file at the very bottom of my list called Viacom_path. It's a TIFF file. If you can just drag that onto Photoshop and open it. Apple is like shutting down everything. Is anybody getting this warning that looks like this? Okay, so if you get this warning, do not move it to the trash. You need to hit done. And then the Windows are any Windows people in here today? Okay, so it's all Mac people. So for Windows people, I don't think you're running into this problem. For the Mac people, the people at Apple are just shutting everything possibly down that they can. So at any rate, to fix that, come up to your Apple menu, come down to System Settings. In System Settings, you want to come down to Privacy and Security. In Privacy and Security, if you scroll all the way down, it's going to say under Security, Viacom_path was blocked to protect your Mac. Open anyway. I promise you guys, this file does not have a virus. Hit open anyway, and then it's going to come back to us and say, aren't you sure you want to move that to the trash? No, I want to open it anyway. That's what I just told you. And then it's going to require your password to do it. It's going to require your firstborn child. It's going to require a $100,000 payment to Apple. In this case, I get a warning, and it's saying there's a mismatch of the, or it's going to say, oh yeah, and leave as, so there is no embedded profile in here. It's fine. We don't need to worry about that. So just go ahead and say okay. And you should get this. Did everybody get this thing open?
Could you do that one more?
Sure.
Thank you.
So if you get the warning, right? Is that what happened?
It says it could not be opened because it's from an unidentified file.
Exactly. So just do not throw it in the trash. What's your option? Hit cancel or what?
It just said they cancel.
Yeah, okay, fine.
No.
So then you're in a place to scroll all the way down. It's always usually near the bottom, and it's going to be this guy right here, open anyway. And then, yeah, perfect. And then open, and then okay. Yeah, we go.
Thank you.
Sure.
Show me. I like it open and then I closed it because I was like, should I do that? And then I reopened it. Yeah.
Did you get the warning again when you reopened it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Ridiculous.
I should have just rolled with it.
No, that's okay. That's all right. Come down to security, privacy and security. And then come and see right here at the bottom. And hit open anyway. And then open anyway. And then your password. Okay. Okay, so we have guidelines on this. And the way you use guidelines, they are non-printable. They're guidelines, so they can help you do things. As a matter of fact, selections, the marquee tools and all that kind of stuff understands guidelines. So you will use them to actually snap, to be really precise in our selections, that kind of stuff anyway. But nonetheless, I don't want to look at these guidelines right now. If you want to, and the way you should be working always with this is how many of you have your rulers showing? See the rulers that I've got on the side of mine? Anybody have those showing? Anybody not? You want them to show. So to do that, come up to the View menu, down to Rulers, and just put a little check mark right next to it, and they will be there the whole time. Again, I want my image to be as big as I can have it without losing any part of it, so I'm going to double click on the hand really quick. So you'll see that my rulers up at the very top here are mine. They're actually in pixels. I have very small numbers. You may have like inches, which will be much, they'll just be not anywhere near this high number count, that kind of stuff. If you want to change the dimensions or what your rulers actually, what the units of measurement are of your ruler, hover over the ruler, and we're going to do a right click. So if you're on Windows, it's a right click. If you're on Macintosh, it's a control click. If you're on a trackpad, it's a double swipe, two-finger swipe down. We'll also do this. You can change this so now I can see what inches look like. If you click on it again, what millimeters. I typically work in pixels because they're finite. They don't change with anything in my image when I'm scaling it. So at any rate. Just so you know that if you click on your ruler and drag and pull down, that's how you pull down a guideline. If you only have a ruler on the top and on the left-hand side because you can pull multiple ones out and you can drag ones to go left and right. So that's just what rulers are. But I don't like guidelines. I don't like working with guidelines unless I need them. So if you do not want to see them, you hit Command H for hide. Now, the very first time you hit Command H, a dialog box will open up and say, do you want to hide extras, or do you want something like extras, or do you want to hide Photoshop? You do not pick Photoshop. You always want to say, I want to hide the extras. What extras are things like guidelines. If you hit Command H again, it'll come back. Now, once you make that selection the first time, it's sticky. You don't have to make it ever again. But if you selected the wrong thing, you have to reset your preferences in Photoshop in order to get that dialog box to come back up the very first time you hit Command H. But if we do a selection, so I'm going to hit the L key and I'm actually going to make a selection on my image like this, and I'm going to hit Command H again. You will see that again, it disappears, but it is still there. So if we go up, I'm going to add just another blank layer on the very top. So I'm going to select the layer that says Viacom. I'm going to click on the little square box at the bottom of my layers palette that's got the plus in the middle to add a blank layer on top. I'm going to hit the B key to get a brush, and then I'm just going to paint. And you can see the selection is still the selection is still there. It's just invisible. So if you hit Command H, it'll come back and you can see, oh yeah, that's where that all is. So I just wanted you to know, Command H is important to us because a lot of times we'll have a selection, but if you do much of this work and you come in really tight on that selection, the marching ants really obscure the line you're trying to find. And so you can actually hide it and still manipulate it and still work with it to make sure that you're in the spot that you want to be in. So I've done a whole bunch of work here right now that I don't need and I don't want. So I'm going to just go back to the very top of my history palette and click the Viacom path little icon up at the very top, and it will bring me back to what my image looked like originally. And then I'm going to hit Command H to get rid of the guidelines, and we are ready to start the pen tool. Okay, so to do this, I'm going to hold down the spacebar and the command key really quickly just to get the magnifying glass, and I want to zoom in to the V. So you want to be in pretty close to do this kind of work because you want to be precise on it. There are people who have two approaches to the pen tool. The approach that I always take to it is you want to get it right the first time. But there's a lot of people who will go in here and they will just start to slap shit down as fast as they can, and then they go back and refine it all, which in my opinion just takes twice as long because you got to go through the whole image twice. So I'm going to do just do it right the first time. So to do this, you need to actually hit the P key. It stands for the pen tool, or it's if you take a look at your toolbar on the far left hand side. It's right under the dodge and burn tool. Actually, the easiest way to find it, it's right above the T. It's right above the type tool. So if you click on it, on the lower right-hand corner, you'll actually see there's a flyout menu, and there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 options here. You are never going to do anything but the top one, the pen tool. You don't ever have to open that thing again. So see how much simpler I made this for you right now? I just took 85% of the challenge of just this drop-down menu and got rid of it. I know. So then you need to look up at the very top. And in the very top on the options bar, again, we control everything up here. Remember, anytime you change a tool, eyes go right up to the options bar to make sure it's set correctly. There's a drop down on the far left-hand side. If you click on this, you'll see you can either do a shape or a path. We don't do shapes in this class. We always do paths, so just leave it that way or make sure it's selected to path. And then as I work my way over, there is a series of icons right here. We will look at these whole groupings later on. Where I want you to go is all the way over to the thing that looks like a little gear. If you click on this little gear, you'll get a flyout menu. And in this part, you have options that you can set up. You can set the thickness of your pen tool. I recommend 1 pixel because when you have a larger than 1 pixel, whatever you have, when you make a selection out of your pen tool work, it will actually respect this width of this line. So if you do something that's got like a 10 pixel width, it's that your path tool, that 10 pixels will not be selected and you'll get really frustrated. So I typically leave it at 1 pixel. There's no real reason to change that. However, the color does matter. If you are working on a blue image, you're not going to be able to see the path that you're actually trying to build. So you could change that. If we were working on a blue image, you can click on this drop-down menu for the color of this, and you could pick red, because red will show up really well on a blue image. But I'm going to leave it at its default, this sort of like light blue. But the thing that's really critical to us is this check mark by the rubber band. You want to make sure that that part is checked. And then again, to get rid of this fly down menu without starting your path work, without laying down a pinpoint right now, simply click on the name up. I just click on the word Adobe. That goes away. It's set. And then the final thing is that you want to put a check mark in here where it says auto add and delete. Is everybody good? Okay. If you lose track of any of this, there is Pen Tool Path PDF. This is actually, look at these illustrations. This is actually copied from that cookbook that I told you about. Yes?
I'm sorry, where was the auto add and delete?
It's right next to the gear. See it?
Mine doesn't have that.
Do you have the pen tool selected?
Yeah.
Yeah, but now you need to jump in and put the word Adobe. We'll figure it out. We'll see what happens. Anyway, this is actually from the book. So this will tell you basically how to set your stuff up right here. Okay, so I'm going to close this up. So realize that that is sitting, that's also in your assignment folder. You might want to save these PDFs and so you can refer to them later. So anyway, I'm going to go back to our image. Okay, so we're going to start. The beginning of this works out pretty easy. So I want you just to watch me first. The straight line part of this is really pretty simple to do. So to do this, if you have, is everybody's cursor like a cross, or does anybody have one that looks like a pen? If you've got the really cute little cursor that looks like a pen, you've got to change your settings. And when you change the cursors, you want to make sure that this is set to precise. And then you won't have the thing that looks like a pen, because the pen doesn't give us the precision that we need, the cross does. So watch me really quickly, and then I'm going to let you guys do this part. So I am going to hover over the intersection of the very top left-hand corner of the V, and I'm going to click once, and it puts down a point. And then as I start to move away, I'm not dragging, I'm just moving, I'm not holding the mouse still down. So it points down a point, so my hands are completely off of this, and you can move this thing around. See the line that's attached between these 2 points? That is the rubber band. If you turn off the rubber band, you can still do path work, but you can't see it. And so the rubber band helps you really align where your path is actually going. So that's why we actually use it. So then I'm going to come down to the point down at the very tip at the bottom, and I'm going to click again. I'm going to go up to the very top and click again. I'm going to come across and click again. I'm going to come down to the center part of the V, up to the very top part. And then when you get back to the original point, you'll see that your cursor changes from that cross to a pen, and it's got a little circle next to it. What that's telling you is that you are completing the path. So click. So I need everybody to do the V. And shout out if it is not working. Are there any like Illustrator people in this class? People who do a ton of Adobe Illustrator-y kind of thing work? So for you, if you really are familiar with how you work the pen tool, you do not need to, oh, never mind then. Okay, never mind, then you'll appreciate this. But no, there are people who get really, really, really good at the pen tool, and I'm showing you all the cheats. And they're like, well, no, I never learned to do that, whatever. They use all 6 of those fucking pen things, whatever, and they do all sorts of keyboard weird shit. No. So, but at any rate, I was just going to say, if you are, I've had people really good at this thing, and I'm pretty good at it, but again, I don't work with this every single day, and they do. So I just was going to say, if you work that way, because when I grade this stuff, I can see that I can pretty much tell the people who know a different way of doing things. So anyway, all right, everybody got the V? Okay. So hold down your space bar, you'll temporarily get the hand, you can move the image over, and I want you to hit the eye and hit it next. So I'm going to start at the very top. You can go in any direction you want to go. You don't need to go, like I always go counterclockwise, but I always start magazines at the back, just who I am. And so I've put in the eye now. That one went quicker. So is everybody good on that part? Okay, before we keep going on, I want you to come over to the path palette. So it is right next to your layers palette. If you click on this, you'll actually see that there's a thing called work path, and then on it, it's a gray background that's got what we've actually done, the little path that we've begun to work on right here. You can actually see it outlined in this on this work path. If you have really small little thumbnails here, I keep trying to encourage you to do the bigger ones, because the bigger one, you can actually see stuff in here if the icon is big enough, or the thumbnail for the path layer, or whatever you want to call it. To get to the big one, again, go over to the little menu item at the very top that's to the right of the tab that says Paths. Click on that, come down to Panel Options, and then click on the radio button that's next to the biggest of the icons and say OK. And that way it'll give you something that you can really see. Okay, while we are over here, I want to click outside of the path, because right now the path is selected. That's why it's this light gray or lighter gray. If you click underneath it, that goes away. This is now no longer selected. If you go back up and click on it, it is selected, and you can actually see your little path lines, the little blue guys. If you click underneath it, they're gone. So now I want to actually start the A that's next to it. So if you click on the bottom, one click, and then go up to the top, look what has happened to your work path. You've lost the VI, the ones that we started with. The thing you need to remember, the real thing that will fuck you up in the pen tool work, is that work path is always a temporary space. And the minute you start to do new work, if you don't have it selected, then you will it will start a whole brand new one. So instead of doing that, we are going to go back in history. So I'm going to come over to my history palette, and I'm going to go 2 steps back to when I closed the last path, and I'm going to click on that, and you can see it's brought it back in your work path. We are good to go here. Now if I click underneath it and do something, again, it's going to lose the V and I. But if you click back on the work path, you can then continue the work that you're actually doing. So go ahead and do the A. In my case, everybody look up at my screen really quickly. I didn't center the A into my image right now, but I don't have to start the path over. I don't need to go back in history. Just hold down your space bar, and temporarily you will get the hand. And now when you click the hand and move it over, it centered it, but then when you let go, you can then continue your path work. And this is how we'll work. We're going to actually do a really long, incredibly detailed path in just a minute. And this is how you move around in it. You never actually stop this process. So I'm going to go ahead and finish the A. And I'm good to go. And you'll notice that the work path was updated. It's now got a VIA in it. So is everybody good on this part so far? Okay. Work path is, again, a temporary thing. It's a very dangerous thing. So do not rely on it all the time. When you're making a path, that's fine, but you want to save your paths as we're going along. So to do that, the fastest way of doing it is simply double click on this thing, and it'll actually offer you a way to name it. And you can name it path number 1. I'm going to actually just call mine VIA because that's what it is. And I'm going to say OK. And when you do that, you'll see that now this has actually been named VIA. which is exactly the way I want it. But now I'm going to hold down my space bar to get my hand over. I'm going to go after the C. So I need you, this is the tricky part. This is where the pen tool becomes usable for you. It's just watch me first, and then we'll actually do it. Okay, so I'm going to start with the straight line part of this. So I'm going to start at the lower part of the C, and I'm going to click, and I'm going to do the same thing I did with the VIA. Again, these are all straight lines. It's simply a click, and I'm going to click another one up here. Now you'll notice that when I do that, oh, actually here, sorry, I'm going to undo all of that. I'm going to go back to when I save a path. I'm going to click down. Right now it's actually trying to put that in the VIA path. I'm going to go underneath it. I'm simply going to click underneath it, and now I'm going to start this again. And you'll see what ends up happening is it creates a new work path. Again, this is the temporary space, so we need to be concerned about that, but I can still work on this right now. Okay, so here's the trick to doing curves. And this is the thing that frustrates people, so this is how you get away from the frustration. So again, watch how I do this. I'm going to go through it a couple times, and then I'm going to let you guys do it, and I'm going to go around the room, and if you're having issues with it, because it's a little bit, well, just watch. So what you do is, we are now going to do this whole arc that's on the back of the C. Do not bite off more than you can chew. There are people who would actually bring their pen tool down here, start and click out, and they can actually describe this whole thing perfectly. Do not don't bite off more than you can chew. I do this in increments, so for me to describe this entire arc right here, I'm going to probably do it in 3 steps. I'm going to do one here. If we think of this as a clock face, I'm going to put a point right here at around 10 o'clock to describe this part, and then I'll do something from like 10 to 8 and then 8 to 6. So that's how I'm going to do mine. So the trick of it is that when you get to this point right here, you want to click, you want to continue holding your mouse down, you want to then drag in the direction that the path is moving. The path is moving in this direction, so I want to click in this direction. You do not want to click back in this direction. You will never get the path to work. You click and you trace it along the line in this direction. And what you'll notice is that it'll pull out a line here, and that you can move this up and down to shape this line. The tighter your control handles are, the closer the movement is to the point that we're working on right now. The longer the handle is, the more the movement happens back at the original point at the top of the C. So your job is to just work this in until it actually transcribes that line perfectly. Mine does right now. Then you let go of your mouse. You bring your mouse back. We're not dragging now. We're just moving our mouse back here to the center point. You hold down the Option key and you click once. And what this does is it removes one of the 2 control handles. This is why people get frustrated, is that when you've got both control handles, there's not a single set that is in control. And when you start to actually continue this work, you will get frustrated because the point lines that you're drawing out are impacted by the ones you've already drawn. And that gets to be really frustrating. What this in effect does is this starts me all over from scratch. So I'm going to come down, again, don't do this, just watch me. I'm going to come down and click and drag my next point out, and like that. Come back into the center part, hold down my Option key and click to get rid of that. And then finally, I'm going to come down to the bottom. And sorry. When you make a mistake like this, because I pulled my line out too far and it wants to continue tracking across my image, don't try to fix this. This is where people hate the pen tool, is that there's all sorts of tricks to go in, reposition this, reset it, do all of that. Don't do any of that shit. Go back in history 1 step. Get this centered the way it should be and do it again. It is so much faster. So I'm going to just drag this out, come back in, hold down the Option key, click. I'm going to really quickly finish this. Straight line section, no clicking and dragging. Click and drag in the direction. Hover back over, hold down my Option key, click. Come up to the center part, click, drag out again. Hover back over the center part, Option key, click. And then finally this completes my path. And I'm done. So I need everybody to do the C And the minute you, if it works for you, great. If you hit the wall, raise your hand and we'll work it out. If you do that again, go back 1 point, and now go back another point. Yeah, you're good now. So come out of here, click, and drag in the direction that you're actually heading. So again, you let go. When you click, you let go. So back in the history. One more time. Yeah. Click, hold your mouse down, keep it down, keep it down, keep it down. Drag in the direction of this. No, you're dragging way in there. Drag in this direction. Good. And then you're just trying to shape it so that it actually gets there. So push your mouse this way a little bit, fine, drag out a little bit more, drag back a little bit less. Keep going, you'll see, you'll get a feel for it. Right there, stop. Perfect, right? Right, so then hover over the center, and your option key, and click once. Let go. Next one, down here, click and drag. Now you're gonna be on the line. Yeah, there you go. Click and drag in the direction of the path. And then you're going to shape this one again, just like you did the first one. Perfect. Good. Right there. Stop. Great. Hover back over, like with your mouse. Hover back over the center. Hold down the option key. Click. Good. Then you get your final point down here. Click the option key. Get really on that center section. Click and drag. And you're going to this way right now. Not so much in the direction of the path, but you'll get the sense of how that needs to actually go. Push it out further. Perfect right there. Good. Come back, hover over the center. Option key, click. Now this is a straight line section, so you just go up and click. And then you're going to come back in here, and it's going to be click and drag again. Drag in the direction of the path. Exactly. Perfect. You got it. Right. Fine. Go. Hover over. Option key, click. More. You're in the middle. Don't go too far. Yeah, the further you go, because now this is going to be really easy. This is going to be really challenging. So come back a little bit. Oh yeah, perfect. Good. Go for it right there. Drag in the direction. Perfect. Great. Let go. Come back. Option key. Perfect. And then you're gonna finish it. Go all the way to the point. No, you go all the way to the point. Click and drag. Keep going. There you go. Perfect. That's it. Path is complete. Make sense? Yeah, it looks like we went far back in time because you lost all of the VIA. Just no, that's okay. That's great. Double click on this really quickly. Just call it C. Good, and then say okay, and then come down below it. Just click below it and do the A really quickly. You don't need all of this. Who else needs a hand with this? Is this working for everyone? We good? Okay. So a couple things. You'll notice now that I've got another work path. Again, this thing is temporary. I don't like temporary work paths. So I'm going to double click on it. And you don't have to double click on this. You can also do the menu, the flyout menu part, and just do a save path. And it'll, again, just open up that dialog box and it's the same thing. So I'm going to call mine C and I'm going to say okay to that. Now, paths are something that you can actually work with. You can copy and paste them. So let's say I want this all on one single path. I want to add the C back up here to the top. Simply copy the path where it is. So I've selected my C layer. I'm going to just come up to the edit menu, down to copy, and then I'm going to click on the VIA layer and just up to the edit menu and paste. And you'll notice that it just puts the C up on that layer on the VIAC part as well. If you hit Command Z to undo that, you can also cut. So if I go back to the C now and select it, and instead of copying it, I can cut it. So up to the edit menu, cut, and it uses the same keyboard shortcuts. So Command X or Control X if you're on Windows to cut, Command C to copy, and Command V to paste. So again, I'm going to cut this, and you'll notice it gets rid of the path. And then I'm going to go up to my VAA path and hit Command V to paste it in, and I'm off to the races. I'm still good to go.
How do I save the path again?
Say what?
How do I save the path again?
You either double click on it, and it'll just say name it. That's always the easiest way. Or you can use the menu, just a flat menu, and it'll do save path.
And then to copy it, I go to edit.
Yep. Did it work?
Yes.
Great. Okay, so now we're going to do the O, and here's the trick and the way you need to think about paths. Photoshop does a good job at realizing what it is you're trying to select or what you're trying, In this case, we need 2 paths to actually do the selection. So when you do these, you always want to start from the outside and work your way in. So this exterior of this O, I want to do that first before I do the donut hole in the middle. If you do it in the opposite direction, it can get very confused about what it is you're trying to do. So always think about, I'm going to start from the outside and work my way in, outside and work my way in. So I'm going to start on the outside of mine. I'm going to start at noon. Come over to around, again, don't get too greedy about this. You could try to come down to 9 o'clock and you could probably hit it, but we'll see. But a lot of times what happens is that you've got to drag your control handles out so far that your image starts to move on you. You'll see, this is what it looks like. This is just so you know. I'm gonna click and drag mine out, and if I get down about like this, my image starts to move because it thinks that's where it doesn't know that my screen is smaller like this. So then this becomes a mess. Again, the minute you have made a mistake, do not try to fix it. Simply go back in history to start it all over again. It's so much easier to do. So again, I'm not going to go quite to 9 o'clock, but I need everybody to then do the exterior of the O. And once you've done the exterior of the O, go ahead and do the interior. And if you've done it right, this is what you should see. You can see if we're looking at the little thumbnail for the path part, it's actually giving us the outlines. If for some reason this thing didn't look like this, if this was inverted, I'm going to try to create a mistake here in just a second. There is a whole thing explaining, and there's another PDF explaining how path components overlap. Just take a quick look at this PDF. It can help. Again, I'm going to show you how to fix it. I'll probably wait until you turn in the homework because there'll be a mistake in the homework that we can pick up. Sometimes it's really hard to engineer this part, but that's how I'm going to try to do this. I'll see if I can't get it to a version of to screw this part up. So ignore what I'm doing right now. So this is the mistake that I was referring to. If you are doing paths and all of a sudden you get something that looks like this, instead, see on the very top one, I've got a gray background with these with these white areas that are delineating where I want my path and how I want my path to intersect. This one on the bottom, I've actually shifted that relationship. So now this path is actually the entire exterior of this, not the center part that's in there. So if this happens to you, you click on this to select it, and it's this little icon up at the very top that looks like two squares. If you click on this drop down, you can actually change how these components interact with one another. This has not been selected though, so let me select the path first. And then you select this part up in here, and you just change these things until it actually looks correct. And that's not it. That's it. And you can see this little O now looks exactly like the version that's setting up. And now the path will function the way you expect it to work. Again, if this happens, you'll just notice the difference. That's all I'm saying. And then that PDF will walk you through it, or we can go through it again next week. So you can throw paths away. I'm going to throw this one that I just did away. And then finally, we're going to do the M. So the M, I'm still going to work on the same path that I was on. It's all straight line. And I'm done. At this point, I would save my work. Again, this is not homework you're going to turn in, but it's just very good practice to get in the habit of doing that kind of stuff. Okay, so once you've actually made the path, you can modify things. And again, we're not going to get into changing points. We're not going to get into any of that kind of stuff. But if you take a look at your path, like look at my screen here really quickly. I'm going to zoom in on this right here. And I would say that this is a pretty good path, but it's not perfect. I'm a little bit off on this line. Let me see if I can find something that's even worse. Well, I'm not going to find anything that's much worse. So anyway, I'm going to fix this guy. So to do this, I'm going to zoom back out just a little bit. You can select your, I'm not going to fix this first. I'm going to do something else first here. You can select paths now and do other things with them. So I'm going to zoom back out. If you want to select, now each one of these is a separate path. So the M is separate from the O. There's two paths in the O, which is separate from the C, which is separate from the A, which is separate. They are all completely separate. Again, when we completed them, they became their own thing. If you want to select a single path and do something with it, you actually there's two tools. If you look down underneath the type tool, there is a tool underneath it that's an arrow, and yours will either be white or it will be black. We're going to start with the black area, the black one first. So if you if it's white, click on the drop-down menu, and it'll come to the path selection tool. If we do that, and then you can come over to the V. So I've come back to the V, and you should come back. You should do this with me. So come back to the V, again, space bar to get the hand, slide over. If you click on it, you'll see that it selects the entire path. All of this is now selected. All the points, you'll notice they are all blue. So that part is great. And now I can actually click and move the V around. So you can see it doesn't have to stay where it is, but when you move it, you're moving the entire path. I'm going to hit undo to go back. It's still selected, so I've got all the points. I'm actually going to copy this now, Command C, and then I can come down and do a new path. So I'm going to click on the little hamburger thing on the right to the right side of the tab path, say I want a new path. It's going to say, what do you want to call it? And I'm going to call it V and say OK, and then Command V to paste this in. That Command V was just coincidental. Does that make sense what's going on here? Are we good on this part? Okay, you can get rid of that now. You can throw it away. Instead, most of the time what you want to do is you want to fine-tune the path you've got. That's the next tool down. So this is as long as we're stay on the path selection, the black one first, you can click and drag across paths. So I'm going to click and drag all the way across. You don't need to go all the way across the A because, again, this tool selects the entirety of the path, and you need to do it with your path selected, and then click and drag all the way across. And you'll notice that all the points are again selected, and now I could copy and paste all of this. So again, Command C to copy, brand new path. I'll just leave it called path 1, Command V, and now you can see I've got a copy of it. It's different than it's identical to the paths that are actually on the VIA, the one that's at the very top. So I'm going to throw that guy away as well. But most of the time, you actually want to manipulate your path, and that's the next tool down. That's the white path, the direct selection tool. This is what most people use to do this. Now, if you hover over the V and you click on it, you need to go back up and select the whole path, and you click on the V, what you'll notice is that all of the points in here are white now. None of them are blue the way that we had before. The path is selected, but now if I stay in the middle of it and try to move it, nothing happens. If you then instead hover over one of the points, I'm going to hover over the very one that I started with. You'll notice I'm just hovering over it. It turns blue. If you click on it, it will stay blue, and now you can click and drag it, and you can modify your path that way. If you hit Command Z to undo that, you can actually select multiple points. So I've got the first top corner, left corner is selected. If you hold down your Shift key, you can select the other one. And now both of these are selected. And now when I click and push this, it actually manipulates both of them together. Is this making sense to everyone what's going on here? So this is how you would go back and refine your path. Again, I said I had the top of the M I thought was a little bit off. So I'm going to zoom into this using the white arrow. I'm going to click on this, and I'm just going to goose it over a little bit to make it a little bit better. And bingo, that's how that's where I'm at on this. Does this make sense to everybody what's going on? Okay. So I'm going to double click on the hand, and let's see how this really, how good a selection this really is. If you hover over the thumbnail of your path that you've now got, and again, mine is, I've got everybody on just a single one. Hold down your Command key and click, it loads it as a selection, just like Command click loads everything as a selection. I'm going to go back into my layers palette. I'm going to click on the Viacom, this is where the outline is. I'm going to click on that. I want to add a blank layer on the very top. So I'm going to add a blank layer now on the very top by clicking on the little square with the plus in the middle of it. I've still got that reddish color is still my color in my foreground color picker. I'm just going to fill this selection. I've got a selection. I'm just going to fill it using my foreground color. Again, the keyboard shortcut for the foreground and background color are the two keys that are just to the left of your spacebar. The one that's immediately left to the spacebar plus the return key, or I'm sorry, the delete key, or the, I don't remember. There's nobody in Windows here anyway, so whatever the Windows, it's not delete in Windows, but anyway. Or the option key plus the delete, which will fill it with the foreground color. Command D to deselect. You cannot do a selection like that with the quick selection tool. You can't do it. You might be able to do it. You might be able to do it with the magic wand, but anyway. Does this make sense what we just did here?
What did you click to select it before you?
To turn the path into a selection? Yeah, just hover over the path, thumbnail, and hold down the Command key and click. Just like you would load a mask, just like you would load a channel, just like you would load anything. It's always the same. Did this work for everyone? Did this not work for anyone? Yes. So again, with the active selection going, what's your foreground color? If it's white, you won't see anything because you'll be filling white on white background. So if it's a color black, doesn't matter what it is. Again, your keyboard shortcuts. Option delete fills with the foreground color. Command delete is the background color. Yes? So again, if you're hovering over select the path, hovering over the thumbnail of the path, hold down your Command key, and just click. Again, Command click loads anything as a selection, a path, a channel, layer mask. It'll actually load the luminosity of the pixel content of a layer. Is this making sense, everybody, what's going on here? Okay, we're almost done here. I want to come back into my path palette. I'm going to hit Command D to deselect. So one of the challenges that we run into all the time is how do we make a dovetail of this? So I'm hovering over the M. What I want to do is I want to fill in the sort of the spaces underneath the M. I'm going to do some weird little shape out here on the bottom. Don't worry about the bottom. But how do you get a perfect dovetail? So again, what dovetail means is it's like when two things perfectly mesh together, right? So when this white space that's underneath, I want to create a path of that I then can fill with a different color. But I want it to fit perfectly with the M that's already there. Does that make sense? And so what do you think the chances are if I come over here to my path palette and I just do a new path and I'm going to call it dovetail and say okay, what do you think the chances are that I can come in here with the pen tool? So again, I'm gonna hit the P key, which will bring me. What do you think the chances are that I can actually set down points in here that will perfectly, exactly match the ones that are already there? In Italian, they would say impossibile. Not possible. These points are a single pixel, and the idea that you're gonna hit the same single pixel twice in a row never will happen. Promise you, never will happen. So for my dovetail instead, what I'm going to do, and I'm going to go back and turn off the fill layer that I did at the very top so that we can just see our outline again and we can see the pass. So if you filled this, turn off the one that's at the very top. I'm going to come back in and I'm going to make a copy of this M. So to do it, I'm going to go back to my black arrow. Make sure that you're on the Viacom path, the one that where the path layer where it actually is. I'm going to select the M. I'm going to do Command C to copy, or up to the edit menu, down and do copy. I'm going to come down to the dovetail path layer at the bottom, Command V to paste it in, and I've now got a version of the M that's exactly the same as it is on the top part of this. But now what I want to do is modify this. I'm going to use the points that already exist that are down here. I am going to get rid of the points that are up at the very top. So to do that, you go back to the white arrow, the direct selection tool, and I'm going to select the point at the very top of the M on the left-hand side. And if you click on it, you'll notice that it stays blue and everybody else is white. That means that no matter what I do, if I move this thing, this is the only thing that moves. Everybody else stays still. You can delete it. Hit the delete key and it will go away. You will also notice that the two segments for the path go away as well. Now I want to get rid of the points that are on the other side as well. Now I could click the one, still using the white tool, that's down in the very center part of the top of my V. I could click on that. You'll see it goes blue. Hold down my Shift key and click on the one that's at the very top. Now both of those are blue. And again, if I hit no matter what I do, if I move it, it will move both. If I hit the delete key, it gets rid of both. And now I've actually got a common set of points that are down at the bottom. Hit your P key to go back to the pen tool, hover over any one of your paths, any one of the points, either the left side or the right side, click, and you will pick up the path again. And then I'm just going to do some weird shape down at the bottom and then come back up to the very top and complete my path. This is now the dovetail. It's based on the points that already existed. So I know I didn't have to change these points. I know that they are exactly the same ones. So then I'm going to hover over this part of the dovetail, the thumbnail of it, hold down my Command key and click. It will load that as a selection. I'm going to go back to my layers palette. I'm going to add another blank layer on top of this because I want to keep it separate from the Viacom underneath this. And I want to fill this with some other color. So I'm going to click on my foreground color picker and I'm just going to pick a green and say, okay, doesn't matter what color you pick. And then again, with marching ants, and you want to fill with your foreground color, Option Delete. Command D to deselect. And now when I turn on the Viacom, you'll see that they fit perfectly. That is the dovetail. Did this work for everyone? So I'm going to go back in history to, so does yours kind of look like this? Okay, so just grab the pen tool again, the P key or the pen tool, and then just hover over this point that's right down here and click. And it'll pick up the path again. You'll see everybody came alive again. Did that work? And then I just made a weird shape at the bottom. It doesn't, I don't care what shape you make at the bottom. There's nothing down there that I was just trying to pick up the under part of the M to show you that you can copy points, that you can delete points, you can move points. But if you don't move them, whatever, they're the exact same. And so you can continue to build path based on path based on path to make sure that your work all fits together instead of trying to make a selection that butts up against it. Does that make sense? Did that work?
Yeah.
Okay. Are we good on this part? Okay. I've got 3. We're going to call this 310. Hard 10, guys. Be back at 320. And we'll actually put this to use.
How do you put the color in it and then paste it on the layer?
So you go to your layers palette.
Okay.
I'm going to pause the recording really quick
I've got the.
for us. So there is another file. You can get rid of the Viacom file now if you've got it still open. You don't need to save it. It's not going to be your homework. And now the file that we're looking for is this one. It's an image file. It is a capital M underscore 7027 underscore 02191. It's a just a raw file, CR2 file. Go ahead and bring that into Photoshop. It'll come into Camera Raw. If you shouldn't have to really do anything to this guy, but you want to make sure that you open this as an object. It should look like a relatively normal file. So I want to outline this file, and again, Select Subject could probably do a pretty good job of it. I don't think Select Subject will do a great job with the hair, but that's not really the point of this. The point of this is that I want to actually use, when you get into difficult situations, I mean, haven't you found this true, is that you have no problem seeing an edge, right? But the selection tools can really struggle. And so this is when the pen tool comes in. I'm telling you right now, every serious compositor in the world runs to the pen tool first. And you're going to want to not do that. You're going to want to say, well, I can brush this in, or I can use the lasso tool to get this, or whatever. And do you find this happens, that you make a selection and you're doing a composite, you're putting something together, for any of you who have composited, and your edges are off, and so then you go in with a paintbrush and you start to try to paint them to get them to work, to actually to fit better. And so you start to paint on your mask to remove something, and then you go too far, so then you paint on the mask to bring it back, and then you go too far, and then you paint, and you just go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and 45 minutes later you still don't have it. Well, if you just use the pen tool, it takes 5 minutes, it's an exact line, you can't miss, and it's just done, and you move on. You will resist this, I promise you, but once you get the hang of this, it will be the first thing you go to every single time. It is for me. That's not true. That's not true. I will try a lot of other tools first, like the Sunny, where the hair is meeting the side of her face, whatever. That's not a pen tool. The hair on this is not pen tool, right? But the edge of this is definitely pen tool, and I can hit it and it'll be exact. And that's what we're going to do. So to start with this, again, this is not going to be your homework, but I want to get through this as far as we can. Hopefully, I will certainly be able to complete this. Even if you're not able to complete this in its entirety, you should have enough of one side to really be able to see how the quality of this whole thing works. So to start with, though, one of the problems that we have, so I'm going to hit the P key to get my pen tool. And the problem is that I like to start at a far edge, so I want to start down here at the very bottom. And you'll see is as I bring the pen tool down, the second I go outside of my image, it becomes a cursor. It's not the pen tool anymore. You cannot work this way doing this kind of work in this kind of setup. So instead what you're going to do is you're going to hit the F key once. There's no modifier for it, just the F key once. And this takes you to what they call the pasteboard. And in the pasteboard, you will see that your tools live and can exist outside of your image frame. So I can start the pen tool. Look at my screen really quickly right here. I can start the pen tool all the way out here. I don't have to be, again, I don't need to worry about those edges. So I'm going to get rid of those points really quickly. So then also, if you hold down the space bar and you click and use the hand to move around, you can actually, this will go up underneath your rulers and outside of your frame, which gives you a little bit more to work with. Then I'm going to hold down the space bar and the command key to temporarily get the magnifying glass, and I'm going to zoom into this image. And the thing about doing the pen tool work is you want to be zoomed in enough that you can really control it, but you don't want to be in so close that it takes you 50 points to describe this one little line that's right here. Because people will do that. People will come in like this. They'll get in like this and they'll start doing pen work. And watch this. Watch how long this takes me to do this stuff, whatever. Even if I just do this part of it right here. I've just done 4 points. I'm going to zip back out now. That was the 4 points that I did. It didn't even get me a halfway there. So again, don't go crazy about this stuff. So I'm going to zoom back in again, just a little bit more. And really quickly, I need everybody to look up at this screen. So I'm going to do 2 versions of a path here. The first is, it's what we really call this is what you would want to do. I always ask this. If you have to make a mistake with your pen, with your path, would you rather have the path be inside on the fabric or outside on the street? And so this is what happens. So I'm going to show you. The ideal of this is that you want to be right on the edge. You want to be perfect, but a lot of times you're not. So I'm going to show you what both look like. So I'm going to start on the inside, and I'm just going to run my way up really quickly. Sorry. And then I'm just going to come around and load this as a selection and then mask it. Can you tell that I've cut part of the skirt off? Oh, come on, this is not a trick question. No, you have no idea. I could put this on another background. I'll actually do that. So hang on one second. Let's just make a white background. Can you tell I've cut off this part of the skirt? No, you cannot. So I'm going to throw this mask away. I'm going to throw this path away. And now I'm going to go on the outside. Pen tool. Same trick. Load this as a selection. Layer mask. Is this a composite you would use? No, absolutely not. You can see the street. You could have this as an 8x10 print across the room, and you could spot this problem across the room. So the trick to this is this. If you have to make a mistake, you want to make sure that you are eliminating what needs to be eliminated and keeping what is kept. Even if it means I cut part of this skirt off, nobody's ever going to know that. If I leave part of the street, everyone will know that. Make sense? Okay, so I'm going to throw this guy away as well. And then the final thing that I'm going to talk about here, and you just need to watch how I do this really fast. So again, I am all about speed in this. So I've taught you how to actually do this. You know, you do the arc, drag the line out, you get rid of one of the handles using the option key. I mean, and that works brilliantly, and I will use it a lot. but you don't have to always use it. So I want you to watch how I'm going to do this really quickly to see what I mean by this. So I'm going to start down here. Typically, I don't want to start on the edge right here. I'm going to start a little bit out on the pasteboard. It just gives me a line to start with so I can get some sense of how to start this. And when you go to load this as a selection, Photoshop understands that you're actually out on the pasteboard. I'm going to click a point right here, and then I'm going to come up. You do not want to, there are no straight lines in nature. There just aren't. You think there are, but they are not. You always want, unless it is a graphic that somebody has done, you know, using a ruler and that kind of stuff, you always want to put a little bit of bend in every line segment that you do. It will keep it more organic. So watch what I do here really quickly. I'm going to come up here to the top, and I take off pretty big chunks of this. You can see it's running along that line pretty well. I'm going to click and drag slightly in this direction, and then I'm going to let go. And typically you would come back and get rid of this point, but as long as this handle line that you have stays on the edge that you want, you don't need to get rid of the handle. You can simply come up here and continue to click and drag. And then I'm going to come up here. This is a place that a lot of people make a mistake right now. A lot of people would continue to select the skirt. But the problem is that, again, this is what I told you. You want to start on the complete outside and then do the inside. This little part of street that's showing in here is actually inside. I need to stop at this point where her fingers are actually touching that skirt, and I need to go inside and continue my entire thing around the exterior of this, and then come back in and do this point that's in this little part that's in the middle right here. If you continue to drag it where I am right now up here and do this point right here, well, you'll see. I'll show it to you really quickly. So again, I do use the option part when I need to. I'm going to come back into here and then come back into this and pull that line in and then hit this, and I've run back into my line. That will not work. So I'm going to keep going back in time. And that is where my problem is, right here. So then I'm going to do this. I'm going to show you one last trick, and then I need you guys to actually start doing your outline. So I'm going to come to this point right here. Even though I haven't gotten rid of all of my handles here, because I was on that same line, I'm fine. I'm going to zoom into this just a little bit. I'm going to grab this part right here. I'm going to click and drag out, and then I am going to get rid of this handle because I'm no longer going along this line. If I was continuing to outline the skirt, I would be, but I got to take off and do this part of the hand that's in here. So again, and look at the problem. This is what everybody runs into with the pen tool, is that I can't describe that line in there. Look at the arc of my point of my line of my path right now. That will never work. So I'm going to hover over the center, Option key, click to get rid of it, and then I can come in and do this part in here. And the last thing I'll show you is how you deal with this little part, the split in her hand right here. There are no, you do not put a single point right here. If you take a look at your hands, this does not come to a sharp point in between your fingers. There's always a curve in here. Even though there's motion in this and you can't really see it, you got to keep the curve in there. So to do it, I'm going to come right on the opposite side. I'm going to zoom in here a little bit more so you can see this. I'm going to come on the so I've got this, my point is right here. Actually, I'm going to take another point in just a little bit longer right here. I'm going to then get rid of this point, and then I'm going to come exactly on the other side, and I'm going to click, and I'm going to pull out. Look, can you guys see that scoop that's right here? You might be able to see it once I get beyond to my next point. Can you see that line right there? It's just that little bit of shape in here. You've got to keep this stuff believable, and that's how it is. So anyway, questions about this? All right, so I need everybody to actually start to outline this girl. The one thing I'll tell you where you need to stop, when you're going up the left side and you get up to this intersection right here where the hair is actually touching this collar, we stop right here and we're going to go to the other side. You can't use the pen tool to actually get the hair. All right, so I need everybody to jump in on this. Take a quick look at my screen. There is a thumb that is actually going over a thumbnail that's going over the edge of this. A lot of people would be tempted to knock that off. If you knock this off, it will destroy what you're trying to do. This is the thing that makes your path look believable, is when you include shit like that. All the little divots that are in here, you want to make sure that you get all of those. One other thing I want to show you on the board really quickly before you get too deep into this. I don't think you heard this on the video, but you can see it right here. Where you put your points. That matters. This becomes the tricky part of pen work. So I call this mountain and valleys. Everybody take a look at this really quickly. This will infinitely help your work, because a lot of people put the path tool at the wrong place. The pen tool excels at doing curves. It excels at doing those curves. So if you say start a point right here and then put another point right here, you are killing the curve. This is what the tool excels at. So instead, you want to put a point here and another one here so that the tool does the curve. Then on the flat parts right in here, this is where you want to put your points, because this part doesn't matter. And then I can come down like this or whatever and another point here and allow the tool to do the curve. So you are always looking for hills and valleys, hills and valleys, hills and valleys, hills and valleys. That's what I'm looking for in all of this stuff right here. I'm looking for the dips, and I don't want to put the tool, I don't want to put the point in the dip. I want to put the point on the side where the transition is made. Does that make sense? Okay. It just helps. So all I can say is that people who do this, you should know this. You should know this. People go, oh, this is so antiquated, nobody would ever use this stuff anymore, right? Everybody just uses the select subject tool, right? There are factories in India that employ hundreds of people that do this work all day long, pen tool. Don't do this, because you won't learn this if you do, but you could actually tonight send this image or whatever your homework is to India, and for 9 cents an image, they will do this work for you. And they'll get it back to you in the morning, and I will never know. Well, that's maybe not altogether true. But the other thing that you should know is this. The most extreme example of path work that I've ever seen in my life was people who do cars. If you shoot cars or anything like that, every single element of that car has got its own path. And it runs into the thousands and tens of thousands of paths. So you send your little path, your little car shot over to India, whatever, and it will come back. Every nut has got its own path. Every bolt has its own path. The windshield wiper, it's not just the windshield wiper itself. The windshield wiper blade has its own path. The little screws that are on the windshield wiper handle part that holds the blade has its own path. Then it doesn't end there. All the highlights on the metal have its own path. All the shadows on the metal have its own path. The shadow underneath the car, everything has its own path. And that's how people work. So anyway, just so that you know. For the whole image, not a path. Oh no, it's insane. It's insane. But they also, retouchers are the same there as well. It's just, it's frightening how cheap it is. But most of the catalog places that I work, that's how it is that you shoot during the day, everything gets sent to India at night, because our night is their day. They do all of the retouching, all of that kind of stuff, and they get it back to you in the morning before you show up. So you walk in and all your work is completely retouched, and then if you have to change something or reshoot or any of that, you can. It's nuts. Yeah. So you'll see if you're looking at my screen that there's very, very little time. If I can continue to work along the line, there's very few times that I have to actually get rid of the second point. So it ends up just being considerably faster. All right, so everybody look at my screen really quickly because I'm up at the collar. I'm just going to show you what to do if you get ahead of this. So once you get to the collar, what we're going to do is we're going to just jump onto the other side and pick this back up where on the other side the hair actually meets the collar right here, and then just start to work your way down. You can just go straight across her face. All right, one more time, look up really quickly here. I've now reached the other edge of the other side. You can come out onto the pasteboard, and you should, because I want to attack this angle, but I want to be doing it coming from the bottom up. So just lay points out here. It doesn't matter where they are, just so that you can get back to this point and be really attacking this at the right angle. You don't need to worry about any of this stuff out here. And then again, just come back in so that you can get this angle correct. So I have my outline done. You guys keep at it. We've got time. I'll let this go for a little bit. But I need to do the part that we talked about earlier that's right between her hand and her skirt. And then you definitely want to save this path. I'm going to save mine and call it body. And I'm also going to save my file. We doing kind of okay? Anybody super struggling? No. So wait, stop here. Actually, go back. You're gonna start. You're gonna hit a point right there where the hair starts. Yeah, just click, and then you're gonna come all the way over to the other side, and you're gonna pick it up again where the hair starts again. So zoom in, zoom way in. Yeah, right, kind of on the outside of the leather where it starts. So the hair outside of the leather. Yeah, good. And then start your way on down. Don't worry about the line across the middle. So again, guys, the line that I've got across her face, just because people are getting in that area. So come all the way up where the hair and the leather touch right here. The minute that happens, your pen tool is no longer good for the rest of this outline. And you just come straight across her face and you pick it up on the other side in that same spot and work your way out from there. And you don't need to worry about this line that's cutting straight across her face. We'll deal with that in a completely different way. I'm going to pause the video. Well, at least we'll get it here. So again, what I've done, just because we missed this part in the recording, is I've softened up my my body mask. I actually saved the blur version of that body mask, and then I need to knock out the hair. So I've looked at my channels to find out what is the most contrasty channel. This was my red channel, this was my green, and this was my blue, and I felt like I had the greatest separation, the most contrast in the green channel. So I made a copy of the green channel and renamed it Temporary Knockout, and then I zoomed in and I put down my 2 color sampler points. Again, going to the eyedropper menu, down to color sampler tool, and zooming in here tight. I only care about the edges of this. I don't care about all this hair in the middle. I can paint all of that with a brush. I just care about where the edge hits the background. So I put my first point there. I put my second point on the building wall that's in the background. Again, I picked the building wall as opposed to the window area because the darker window area, if I got it to go black, there would still be tone. This wall would not be black yet. If I get the wall to go black, the window will already have been black. So my mask will be more complete. And then finally, I need to go out to my color sampler tool points, and I need to click on my drop down for my first color sampler and say I want this. Actually, make sure that you're working on the temp knockout, not on the whole edge. So I'm clicking on the temp knockout, and you can see now those readout values are in K. Again, K is the K of CMYK. It's just black ink. The more black ink that you actually have, the darker it is. 100% K would be completely black. 0% K is completely white. So again, I'm going to click on the drop-down menus to get this into RGB readouts, because when we work with levels, we don't work in K, we work in RGB. So I'm going to click on this drop-down menu and say, I want you to give me this readout in RGB. And I'm going to do the exact same thing for point number 2. I want to see it in RGB. And now I've got what my challenge is that I need these 242s to go to white, to 255, and I need these 61s to go to black, which is 0. Now, your numbers should be close to this. There's no way that they're going to be exactly the same, but they should be pretty close. If you've got something that's wildly different, you should let me know. Okay, so again, working on the temp knockout, make sure that that's the thing that is selected, not something else in this channel palette at all. It's the temp knockout. We're going to do levels, Command L, and I'm going to start on the black point, and I'm going to grab this slider, and I'm watching this 61 the whole time. I'm just going to start to pull it towards the middle until I get close to 0. Then I'm going to stop. I'm at a 5 right now. I'm going to go to my arrow keys and just tap this in so that I do the absolute minimum that I need to do to get to 0. Then I'm going to come and grab my white point underneath the histogram and start to drag towards the middle. And again, I'm watching my readout right here. Stop before you get to 255. Go to your arrow keys and tap this in one at a time until it just hits 255. Yes? I'm sorry, still can't hear you. Yeah.
Mine aren't changing when I drag them.
You may have a selection going there. So hit cancel, and then hit Command D, and then you're still in this. So try it again. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. See, again, it's that hidden selection thing that can really bite you. And once you start hiding your stuff using that Command H, it can really get to be complicated because you don't even see it, even if you did. I am going to go to my tablet at this point right now. I like to do my mask work with a tablet because I like to use brushes to do it. So that's what I am going to do. You don't have to. You can still stay in a mouse. We're not doing that much work in here. So I've got my number 1 point is at 255. My number 2 point is at 0. Before you say okay to this, back out again a little bit, and you just want to take a look and see. I'm being too aggressive with my mask. The hair stuff that's on the edges right here, you can see like some of the hairs that are in the background, whatever, those tend to be pretty soft and they're not completely white. So this is actually, I feel pretty good about this. I mean, this girl's being backlit. That hair is like really being smacked hard. So, but I've got some tone in the hairs that are up in here. So I feel like this mask is pretty good. I've got some problems with the background, but we'll deal with that right now. So I'm gonna go ahead and, no, go ahead.
Sorry.
It what?
It's not going to 255. It's like, so those are the levels. You don't want to try to adjust it.
No, those aren't the levels. These are the ones that are right here. So your info palette, it's like reversed. So you've got your 1, 2, 2s. So then selected. D, make sure you have a selection and down brings this out. And we're going to drag this and this sequence twice, just one right here, the line. So go to your arrow keys. No, arrow keys. And then with that, you're going to do the opposite arrow. Stop. Then you're going to go to the white point and drag it back towards the center. And you're watching these numbers right here. Keep going. Stop. You went too far. Go back. You cannot be at 255. You got to get at least to 254. Go back. Stop right there. Go to your arrow keys. And just tap them in, either up or down. When it goes the wrong direction, go the other way. One more. That's it. You've done it. So before you say okay, even though I just said hit okay, just use your preview check mark to turn it on and off and see what hair am I losing here. I'm actually looking like I'm keeping it all. Am I splitting it up a little bit too much up in here? You can see that this set that's right up in here, this looks like it's falling apart a little bit. Am I going to work at fixing this forever? Hell no. I'm just going to kill that if I have to. But I like the way it is. I mean, we'll see what it looks like. But if I get rid of this, nobody's ever going to know. So don't spend your time like freaking out about this. So I'm going to go ahead and say, okay, I'm going to hit the B key to get a brush. I'm going to make this an overlay brush. So go up to your blending mode, come down, and you want an overlay brush. Also, click on the type of brush that you've got. For your hardness in here, I'm going to drop mine down to about a 50%. I don't want a really hard edge brush. I'll actually see it. But I want one that's hard enough that I've got some control. I'm really worried about spilling out into this stuff. I don't want to do that. So I'm going to make my brush smaller using the bracket keys that are just to the right of the P key. I am going to hopefully pull the stylus out of my back pocket that I kept there. And how do I do what? So it's just the blending mode up in your options bar. So it'll, by definition, it's always at normal. You want to come down to overlay. Because remember what overlay will do, black is my foreground color. If you don't know, just hit your D key to make sure that black and white are your foreground and background colors. White is now my foreground color. I want to paint with actually black. I want to fix this area that's right in here. So I'm going to hit the X key to make black my foreground color. But remember now, just watch my screen here really quickly. I'm actually going to paint black on this white area right here. And you'll see as I go back and forth, it doesn't do anything. That's the advantage of an overlay brush. It tends to protect the tone. If my brush was normal, this would happen. That's not what's going to happen. So Command Z to undo that. Back to an overlay. It just is going to help me protect this area in here. And then I'm just going to start working in this area in here to actually get rid of this part. Again, this does not have to be perfect. I'm going to leave this stuff in here. The rest of this, I'm just going to leave it. So I'm looking around the exterior over here. Again, all you care about is the edge line. Don't worry about the whole rest of this background building. This little part right here, I'd like to buy some edge there. This, I'm going to do the same thing right in here. Now this area, take a look, everybody on my screen right here. Where I'm coming in like this area, like this in here, right here, what I'll do is I'll actually drop the opacity of this brush. I'm going to kick it down to like a 50% so that I can do taps to bring this in a little bit more. And it just gives me, it's not so hard edged. I can do one right there, and that one single stroke does it. I'm going to do 1 or 2 or 3 right there. And then this whole big thing that's happening in the back of her head, this is the biggest part. I'm going to go back up to 100%, and I'm just going to start to work my way in here. If these hairs that are on the very top, if I can keep them, I will. If not, I'm just going to get rid of them. You'll never know. Matter of fact, I'm just going to get rid of them to prove it to you. So I'm just going to run right across this stuff. You'll see it does a pretty good job of that. This hair right in here, it actually hit that a little bit too much. I'm going to undo that and try to be a little bit more deliberate about that. A little bit smaller. Not that small. And remember, when you do overlay repeatedly, it'll add more density. And then I've sort of orphaned a little bit of this hair part up in here, this part right here. It's still, this part will work. But again, if there's anything in here that you don't like, just take it out. I'm going to continue to work my way around this. There's this part right in here. And again, all I'm trying to do is build a bigger edge. Once you get a decent size edge, you can go in with a hard brush, a normal brush, and get rid of the rest of this. And then I'm going to come down to her face, and in her face part right here, I need this to be white. So this is just the opposite. I'm going to hit the X key to get white as my foreground color, still with an overlay brush, still 100% opacity, 100% flow, and still that 50%. I'm going to make my brush a little bit larger, and I'm just going to tap through her nose and her upper lip and her regular lips. And then by the time I get down to where her hair is down in here, I'm good. So then with my overlay brush, I'm going to zoom back out a little bit. And you just need to then fill in the hair part by the edge. Again, don't worry about the center part. I'm just building my edge in here a little bit so that I can then go in with a normal brush and whack the hell out of it. So I'm going to zoom into this area that's in the back part of her head here. Again, I'm just buying space here. I'm staying away from the edge that my levels actually found for me. I'm not going to touch any of that part. I'm just trying to get a bigger space in here. And then once I get that, I can actually zoom back out a little bit. I'm going to change my brush to a completely normal brush and a completely hard one. The reason you want to go to a completely hard brush at this stage of the game is you don't want to run the risk of this actually jumping out onto anything. Again, hang on one second. So to get rid of it, anyway, so a completely hard brush, because now I can use a fairly big brush and I can just paint through all of this. I don't need to worry about any of this part in here. So that's what I'm going to do. Again, stay away from the edges when you're doing this. I'm going to come down and hit this lower part. Again, stay away from the edge of that leather. You've already got that in your path. So and then I'm going to zoom out a little bit more. And I'm just going to clean up a little bit more of this black background. Again, I've got the edges for it. So I'm going to hit the X key, and I just want to get rid of this part of it all because it will impact what we do. So I'm going to just get rid of all that, all of this. By the time you get down here, in this side down here, you don't need to worry too much about this. I just want to make sure it's around her. And so basically this is what I'm going to use to knock out the hair. So is everybody kind of close to something similar to this? Somewhat similar? All right, save your work. File, save as, okay, yeah, replace. Okay, so this is the part where I got to put these two things together. And this is the thing that screws people up all the time. So I want to show you what I'm planning on doing with this. So I'm going to load this as a selection. I'm hovering over the image, this temporary knockout. I'm going to hover over the thumbnail, command click. Command D, command click, command D. What is going on? I'm going to hit the F key to jump back out. And it does not look like I can. I'm hoping that this got saved because right now mine is completely locked up.
Deselect the brush and right-click that and it came out.
Yeah, I'm totally locked up. You don't want to see that. Okay, so I'm going to do this really quick. Part of this actually got saved, so it's not looking too bad over there. Oh, actually all the black stuff got saved. So this should go pretty quick. Ooh, even part of the white stuff got saved. hard brush. Okay, save this really quick. Oh, did you notice that? It said recovered. This is that 10-minute recovery. So it kept part of the mask work that I had done. I am going to get rid of a little bit more of the background here, just to give me a little bit of room. Okay, so this is what I was going to show you earlier. So I'm going to then command click on this, my temporary knockout, command click. It loads it. You can see there's marching ants going around the hair. I'm going to add a blank layer up here to the very top. Actually, I'm going to turn off my figure just so that you can see what's going on. So this is now an active selection, and it's interesting. A lot of you forget that, again, what I just showed you earlier is that an active selection controls where you can put paint down and where it will not go down. So I'm going to hit my B key again to get a brush. I'm going to hit the D key to default my foreground and background colors to black and white. And I'm just going to make my brush a little bit larger. And I'm just going to paint along here. And you can see what's happening is it's in the area where it is white, it's actually preventing, in the area that is the active selection, it's allowing me to put down ink. In the area where it's not, it's actually keeping it away. So you can see that there's a little bit of haze here in the background. That means I didn't get those areas completely black in my mask. But what I'm trying to show you, what I want you to understand, I'm going to hit Command D to deselect, is that a selection controls where paint actually goes down, where ink actually goes down. We are going to leverage that to put this knockout that I've done of her hair together with the body so that I have one complete knockout of the entire figure. So I'm going to throw this away. I'm going to fix that little problem that's on the hair part right here, because it's just this little part that's in the background right here. So with my brush selected, the B key, I'm going to make it a medium soft brush. I'm going to change my blending mode to overlay, and I'm just going to clean that area up. Yeah. Okay, so to put them together, hover over your temporary knockout, hold down the command key, and click on the icon on the thumbnail. It loads this as a selection. Then I'm going to go to my blurred body. I'm going to zoom out just a little bit. I'm going to change my brush to normal. And it doesn't really matter whether this is a hard brush or a soft brush, because the selection is controlling where I'm actually going to paint. But here's the last trick and the thing that you need to be aware of. When you paint this outside edge, there's transparency in this edge. And if you hit the edge more than once, you'll end up building more density in there than should be in there. So you want to do this all in one solid stroke. Do not stop. So watch what I'm talking about here on my screen. I'm going to actually click this and hit Command Z to undo that, because black is my foreground color and I want to paint this white. X key to actually make that. Sorry. And now I'm just going to paint this all the way across and down. And that's it. Command D to deselect. And what I was talking about here is that if I hit this, here, let me go back one step where I do the deselect again. I've still got a selection going. I've already painted across this, but you see how I've got hair that's sitting right here that's still got tone in it? This is the transparent hair that I want to keep. If I hit this a second time, it actually starts making it too opaque. So that's why you want to do this all in one stroke and not come back over and hit this a second time. Otherwise, you start picking up these sorts of, you start making your mask too aggressive. So I'm going to hit Command Z to undo that. Double click on the hand, and then Command D to deselect. This is now my body knockout. Did you guys end up with a full body knockout? Right? So then let's see what this really can do for us. I'm going to turn on my figure again. I'm not going to use this to knock it out. I'm just going to use this to manipulate my image. So I'm going to throw away my temporary knockout. I don't need that anymore. I am going to save my file before I start doing this work. And then I'm going to command click to load this as a selection. I'm going to come over to my smart object, and I'm going to add a black and white adjustment layer.
What did you press to select the hair? Like, I stopped following along, so I
Okay.
couldn't keep up. Like, when you had the marching ants around it,
Yeah.
what did you click to?
The temporary knockout. So just hover, oh no, again, hover over the thumbnail, and now come and click.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And it loads whatever in there is white. That's all I've done. Okay, so this actually makes this black and white figure on a color background. I don't think that really works for me, so I'm going to invert this, Command I. Okay, now that starts to become something. Again, I want to actually silhouette this even a little bit more, so I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to Command click on this guy again. So I want to make this background darker. And the problem that I've got right now is that this body that I've made that's blurred here, it's only doing shit to the body. So I want to invert the body so that now all the work that I do will be on the background. Yes. No, you're good. Oh, I know. You will as well as soon as you put on a layer mask. So command click on this. And then come over here, and you're just going to find it. I'm going to do an adjustment layer. So click on your adjustment layers. No, the circle that's half black, half white. And do black and white. And now what you're seeing is that this mask is also showing up down here. Scroll down. You'll see it as a mask, but you'll also see it as your blurred background. Scroll up here. You see you've got both. And the reason you're seeing this red is because you've got this eyeball on your blurred gun. So this is down. You're exactly right. Right? If you click Command on this guy, you've got it. Just invert it. Command I. No, lower the selection. Just yeah. Go back and just. Yeah, you're in the right spot now. So not Command click. You're going to Command I to invert that. Now you've got a dark background. Oh, black and white background. Yes. You're what? Yeah, you've got a red background. It's only because you've got the eyeball on this body turned on. This is showing you that you've got a channel that's turned on, visible. So guys, what everybody's running into is this. Let me show you really quickly. If I come back here, I'm just going to come back to my image like this. If I come down and actually, this is my blurred body is right here. If I turn the eyeball of my blurred body on, it actually shows you, it's a preview. It's showing you, this red is telling you what, it's indicating what's going on down in here. Simply turn the eyeball off. It's not that your image turned red. Okay, but I want to continue this. So again, my blurred body now, I've inverted it so that when I use it, it will actually work on my background and not on my figure. And you can go back and forth with this all day long. Sorry. You can go back and forth with this all day long. You can invert this guy back and forth. It doesn't matter. Nothing changes. So I just don't want to keep inverting it once I add the layer mask. So I'm going to Command click to load this. I'm going to come back over to my image here, and I'm going to add another. I'm just going to add a regular curve to this. So just come add a regular curve. Again, I've got a selection going. I'm adding a curve. It puts this layer mask on, and you can see now, if I push my layer up, it makes the background lighter. Push it down, it makes it darker. It's just controlling the background. What I'm going to do instead, though, is show you a great trick. If you want to make something lighter or darker in your image and you don't want to go through the reprocessing part that we did, all of this, it's a background, it doesn't matter as much. You use blending modes for your curves, or actually any of your layers. So the two first ones that I want you to be aware of are multiply and screen. So if you click on this drop-down menu and you come down to multiply, it will make your image, the part that is visible, darker. If you go to screen, screen is the opposite of multiply. It makes your image lighter. So I'm going to go back to multiply here. to make my image darker. And then I feel like this is a little too aggressive. This is sort of like looking like, it's looking like nighttime out there. A little too aggressive. So I'm just going to use my opacity slider to back this off. And I'm going to do a snapshot of my image right now, what it looks like. This is where I started, and this is where I am right now. This is the freedom that you want in your image making. But take a look at this edge. Everybody thinks that, oh, pen tool sucks. Look at this. Pen tool does not suck. Pen tool, I feel like, what? Who says that? I mean, no, I'm recognizing this from a film or something. Pen tool says go. Pen tools, I don't know. It sounds like some idiot. That's what I sound like. So, but anyway, look at this. Look at how insane this is. Look at the edge. Guys, you do this kind of stuff, people just go, you want to be arty about this stuff? Here, let's try something else. I know what. I'm going to make a copy of my, I'm going to get rid of these adjustment layers that I put on here. I'm going to make a different copy of my smart object right now, so one that I can reprocess. So I'm going to do smart objects, new smart object via copy. I'm going to double click on this to open this up. And how can I invert this? I think if I go to curves, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Never mind. I'm going to hit no. Yeah, I'm going to get rid of all this. I'm going to just invert this for an effect. So instead of fighting with all of this smart object part, I'm going to rasterize this. I'm going to turn this from a smart object into a normal, regular layer, image layer. So to do that, you come up to the layer menu, down to smart objects, down to rasterize, or you come down to rasterize smart object. They both do the exact same thing. And when you click on that, you'll notice that that little icon in the corner has gone away. Now I can invert this image. Command I, just inverted it. And now what I'm going to do is I am gonna Command click to load this as a selection. I'm gonna come over and put this as a layer mask. So, and Command D to deselect, and then I'm going to invert this so that I've got this solarized subject on a normal background, and I'm going to call this fucking art, and I'm going to charge thousands for it. I won't get it, but you can always be hopeful. I'm telling you right now, pen tool, yes?
What's the rasterizing do?
They changed it from a smart object to a normal one. You couldn't invert a normal, a smart object. You can't invert it. Try and turn your smart object on and hit Command I. It inverts?
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. I didn't think it would.
It's a smart filter invert.
Oh, well, it's a smart filter. So again, this is yet again another thing that Photoshop has introduced. It used to be you couldn't do anything like that, but it's putting it on as a smart filter, which means it's not really inverted. It means it's actually, yeah, it's an illusion. Questions about any of this? Are we good? All right, so for your homework, really quickly, in the assignment folder, there's this Coke path. You are to outline that and make a path about it. And then there is another file in here, this 554. You're going to knock out the girl, and then you are going to put her on this metal background. We good? I'll see you guys next week.
Thank you.